Chapter 461-It's done. I'm going to wash up. You, don't walk around. There are quite a lot of things here, and some things can't be looked at. Tina blushed, stood up, and reminded, also, some things don't belong to me. That is to say, can you mess around with your stuff? Li Ang looked at Tina with a smile and said, Huh. Tina let out an arrogant sound, and walked towards the balcony not far away with her long legs. Li Ang looked at the back of Tina's departure with a smile, and then observed the surrounding environment. This house is quite big. Visual inspection is not less than 100 square meters. The two lived in this big house, and they were already treated very well. The treatment of a colonel is naturally not easy. This can be very different from ordinary naval soldiers. Ordinary Navy soldiers have collective dormitories. Do you want independent rooms? This is definitely impossible, and the rank of colonel must be unusual. There is no equality here, the official status is high, and the place to live is naturally better. Ordinary naval soldiers at the grassroots level must live in collective dormitories. Soon. When Tina came back again, there was still a trace of water stains on her face. Her pretty face was flushed red, and she was so beautiful that she had just washed her face. 177. It's getting late. I'm going to bed. Tina looked at Li Ang nervously and whispered. Well then, I'm leaving. Li Ang stood up from the sofa and smiled. As soon as he turned around, he was ready to leave. At the same time, his eyes twinkled brightly, and there was a trace of inference in his heart. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. As expected. Tina still stopped him and said, You just left. Otherwise. Li Ang turned around, waved his hand, and smiled. Are you going to let people say it so bluntly? Tina's pretty face blushed slightly and said angrily. Everyone has already hinted it so clearly, why can't this wood think about it with his head? What a shame. Could it be that he really has to let people finish all the words before he understands? Little Nizi didn't know that Li Ang did it on purpose, just to see Tina's shy look. What's the matter? How can I understand if you don't tell me? Li Ang laughed and said very innocently. You. Tina gritted her silver teeth, glared at Li Ang viciously, and shouted, Don't think about leaving tonight, you must be here with me. So domineering. Li Ang's eyes flashed and he said with a smile. It's so domineering, you can give it or not. Tina raised her head, her confident little face was still hard to hide her shyness. After saying these words, white smoke was coming out of her whole head, which was too numb. How could these words come out of your own mouth? Since you have made such a strong request, then I will definitely meet your request. Don't regret it, you are trying to bring wolves into the room. Li Ang narrowed his eyes slightly and smiled. I can't tell who the wolf is. Tina said very sturdily, but she was not nervous at all. Well, I'm going to do it now, you don't regret it. Li Ang walked towards Tina step by step and smiled. Chapter 461-It's done. NLT, 39 and GT. Li Ang walked towards Tina step by step and smiled. Seeing Li Ang approaching, Tina felt a little nervous in her heart. Although she looked sturdy on the surface, she still couldn't hide her anxiety. After all, this is the first time she has experienced this kind of thing, so she should feel a little nervous, it is inevitable. I won't regret it. Tina was still stubborn and muttered. Li Ang was already standing in front of Tina, looking down condescendingly, looking at Tina's big eyes. He was a little nervous, and he turned his eyes away and did not dare to look at him. What's the matter? Don't you dare to look at me. Are you nervous? Li Ang looked at Tina's appearance and smiled. No. Tina denied it, raised her head, and looked at Li Ang's eyes. BJDF. But soon, under Li Ang's gaze, she was quickly defeated, her pretty face blushing like a sunset on the horizon. Li Ang lowered his head and got closer to Tina's line of sight. At the same time, Tina Fan clenched her fists tightly, closed her eyes slightly, her long eyelashes trembled, you could see her nervousness. Tina was shy and didn't dare to face Liang. She put her hands in front of her and whispered, I. It's useless to regret. Liang's blood rushed to his forehead, his voice a little hoarse, said. He pounced directly and hugged Tina's soft body. Immediately. In the fierce battle, Tina screamed in pain and directly bit Liang's shoulder. A bright red flashed. There was a bit of water mist in her eyes, but in her eyes, it could be seen that she didn't have the slightest regret, and was happy from the bottom of her heart. A battle is going on. The moon is bright and the stars are sparse, and the dark sky occasionally flickers with a few spots of light, which are a little faint. A bright moon, the crescent moon, is bringing an icy aura, filling the entire earth, covering Marin Fando. The temperature plummeted, dissipating all the warmth of the day. In the room, there were bursts of intriguing sounds. Less than an hour. Tina began to beg for mercy. After all, she had just experienced this kind of thing, and she would definitely not be able to face Liang's fierce attack. 2 hours later. Tina was already a little numb, she felt a trace of regret, and quickly clapped her hands and begged for mercy, not daring to fight Liang again. Who would have thought that Liang was so full of energy, which made her feel a little scared. In order to ensure that Tina would not have a psychological shadow, Liang also held back. But at night, after a slight interval of half an hour, fight, once again at the touch of a button. In the end, it ended with Tina begging for mercy. It's just that Tina's physique has improved significantly this time. After a few hours of battle, she couldn't hold on, and she was so exhausted that she couldn't move. Who said at the beginning, who is the wolf? With a smile on his face, Liang said, looking at Tina with a pretty blushing face in front of him. You bad guy. Tina's face was rosy, she glanced at Liang angrily, and said. Really, it's crazy. She never expected that Liang would be so tyrannical. But this is not what she imagined. That guy Eggers didn't say that, generally the strongest, it's only an hour. Why, after so long, Liang in front of him is still alive and well, without the slightest sense of fatigue. Damn Eggers, I'll settle the account with her later. Tina thought so in her heart, gnashing her teeth like an angry little lion. Chapter 462-Tina, did you really do it? Dark sky. Gradually, a scorching sun appeared, rising from the east, dispelling the coldness of the night. There is still a little water mist left in the air, which is directly evaporated. Vando also showed a lively scene. In the room, Liang looked at Tina beside him, resting his chin on the sworn Zhang's shoulder, and said with a smile, how is it? Are you feeling better? It's all you, how can you be so fast? Tina blushed and said angrily. Her beautiful eyes are still a bit tired. Last night, she slept too short. Almost, the whole process was spent in the battle with Liang. Especially at the end, she even begged for mercy on the ground, which made her feel shy and ashamed in retrospect. However, the current self belongs to Liang. You, go away. Suddenly, Tina Maimu said with a bit of anxiety. What's wrong? Liang was a little puzzled and asked with a smile. She is coming back. If she is allowed to see it, she will be laughing at me for several years. Besides, Eggers is a big speaker, she will definitely tell the story. Tina's pretty face showed a bit of annoyance, said. She shuddered when she recalled Eggers' big mouth. There is no secret that the other party can hide. Well then, you have a good rest. Don't go out these days. Liang pecked Tina's fair forehead, nodded and smiled. Yeah. Tina nodded lightly, wiped her forehead, and unconsciously showed a little smile. She was very happy, sweeter than drinking honey. After sorting out his clothes a little, Liang gradually left. Looking at the back of Liang leaving, Tina quickly put on her clothes, but when she saw the bright red on the small white sheet, her pretty face turned rosy again. This guy Eggers must not be seen. Tina made up her mind and quickly washed the white sheet, trying to clean up the traces. Crunch. The door opened. Tina's movements stopped abruptly. Tina, I'm back. Eggers looked around, with some doubts on his chubby face. Where is the person? Where did you go? Immediately, she moved her footsteps and walked to the bathroom in front. Suddenly, she saw Tina, who was cleaning a small sheet. Originally, she didn't care very much, but after seeing the bright red, her eyes widened and she was shocked. Eggs, are you back? Tina quickly stood up, looked at Eggers, and smiled. Tina, you. Eggers' throat was dry, pointed at Tina, and said, you really did it. You gave Liang the most precious thing you kept for 30 years. Well, yes. Tina's pretty face blushed, without denying it, said. Since you can't hide it, you definitely don't need to hide it anymore. You. Eggers was so frightened, his lips trembled, he swallowed, and said, Tina, did you really do it? Did you really do it? Chapter 462-Tina, did you really do it? And GT, page 1/2. Please click the next page to continue reading. Eggers was so frightened, his lips trembled, he swallowed, and said, Tina, did you really do it? Did you really do it? Otherwise. Tina rolled her eyes angrily and said, also, what you said before is not correct. You said that a man can take at most 1 hour, but Liang has been for several hours. All night, I kept on. I beg for mercy, but it's too painful. Eggers was taken aback by Tina's words again. A long time. With a complicated expression, she looked at Tina, who was proud of the spring breeze in front of her, and said, Tina, can your husband rent it out? I want to try it too, it's like a few hours. Go away. Tina glared at Eggers angrily and said. Ordinary men are like what I said, but Liang is an exception. I have never heard of such a terrible man. Tina, I envy you so much. Eggers looked at Tina sadly and said slowly. You don't even know how painful it is, and you still envy me. Tina squatted down, continued to clean the traces on the sheets, and said directly. You'll find out later. Eggers was very sad, and walked out of the hall lonely, motionless, sluggish, looking at the ceiling, without saying a word. After washing the sheets, Tina hung the white and clean sheets on the wooden shelf and walked out of the hall. At first glance, she saw Eggers, who was full of resentment, like a resentful woman, looking at herself. You are very strange. Tina couldn't help but said. What's wrong with me? It's obviously because of you. I'm so jealous of you, you guy. Eggers scratched his hair and said. Immediately, she calmed down a little and asked curiously, by the way, Tina, how did you do it last night? Tell me, I haven't really tried it yet. I seem to hear a different flavor. Tina raised her brows, pointed at Eggers, and shouted, you guy, shouldn't you be talking about soldiers all the time? Actually, you still dare to pretend to be an old lover. Didn't I find someone to try it out? Don't care about these details, anyway, aren't you successful? Tell me about the secret of your success. Eggers coughed, blushed, changed the subject, and said. What else can we do? Tina rolled her eyes, thinking of last night's picture. Her mood became a little shy, her face was slightly red, and she said, according to your method, but in the end I was still too nervous. He went back to the room. Then what? Eggers looked like a curious baby. And then, he attacked me. Finally, you came back, it's that simple. Don't ask, I can't tell. Tina spoke very vaguely and did not elaborate on the details. Tina, you are so shameless. Eggers said resentfully, you have all succeeded, and you still haven't told me the secret. You're an old lover, what do you want me to do with the secrets of a newbie? Tina said with a smile. Suddenly, Eggers was speechless, very depressed, and did not speak. Okay, I'm going to make up for sleep, and you can think slowly for yourself. Tina took out her long legs and quickly left the hall, said. She was enduring the stinging pain, and her steps were very strange, trembling, and finally returned to the room. She was too tired, and even when she lay down, she heard even breathing. The location of the hall. Eggers was lying on the sofa, looking at the ceiling, wailing, "My God, this little girl Tina is also out of singleness. So, I'm left with myself. I don't want to live. Well, if I had known it earlier, I shouldn't have encouraged her." However, she could never imagine that Tina would succeed as soon as she made a move. Thinking of this, she felt complicated, and was stabbed in the heart by 10,000 blows. NLT, 42 and GT. Chapter 463 _ The Distress of the Warring States. When Li Ang returned to his residence, he passed through many streets of Marin Fando. It can be seen that the entire Marin Vatican is reorganizing the atmosphere. Patients crowded the medical room, busy every day. And the rest of the Navy, which was put into a plan to rebuild Marin Vando. As for the high level, you need to think about some of the next issues. Crunch. Li Ang took out the key and opened the door. When he entered, Hancock was sitting on the sofa. Meimu asked suspiciously, "Where did you go?" Something interesting happened. After Li Ang closed the door, he walked towards Hancock in front. Hancock was wearing reddish-brown clothes, his slender hands and wrists were decorated like fish scales, his black and smooth hair was hanging down, and his delicate face was exposed in Li Ang's eyes, which was incredibly glamorous. And the figure of the devil, as if to break his clothes, a pair of straight and slender big, 367, long legs, white as jade, it is perfect and impeccable. Li Ang sat next to Hancock, hugging the slender waist, feeling the delicate touch on his hand, and said with a smile, "My spirit has recovered a lot. Of course, do you think I'm an ordinary person? I'm Chiwahai." Hancock said with a confident smile on his pretty face. Suddenly, her beautiful brows twitched and she smelled close to Li Ang. She looked at Li Ang and asked, "If there is a fragrance, come from the truth." Cough cough. Li Ang coughed dryly, but he didn't expect Hancock's sense of smell to be so sensitive. He held Hancock in front of him and leaned on the latter's fragrant shoulders. At the same time, he explained slowly, "My Lady Empress, you are too sensitive. Did you go hook up with other little girls?" Hancock looked at Li Ang with a half smile but sat on Li Ang's body and said, "You saw it out." Li Ang rubbed Hancock's hair, hugged the latter's soft body, and said truthfully, "I'll just say you're dishonest. In the Navy headquarters, you casually hooked up with little girls." Hancock rolled his eyes, looking charming. "You guessed it wrong." Li Ang smiled meaningfully and said, "She took the initiative to attack, and I was passive." "The devil believes you," Hancock said with a suspicious look on his pretty face. "Don't believe it, your husband is very attractive." Li Ang laughed loudly, pecked Hancock's fair face, and said, "Go take a shower, you haven't showered for a day." Hancock hurriedly pushed Li Ang away and said hurriedly, "Good good." Li Ang stood up from the sofa and was about to step into the bathroom. He looked back at Hancock and said with a smile, "Let's go together." "The devil is with you, shameless." Hancock's eyes widened and he refused directly. But Li Ang directly hugged Hancock, ignoring the latter's struggle, and plunged into the bathroom. "Let go of me, I just washed." Hancock struggled, blushing, and said, "That won't work." Li Ang narrowed his eyes slightly and said with a smile. Then, regardless of Hancock's struggles and opposition, the bathroom door was tightly closed. Soon, from the bathroom, there was an intriguing sound. ... Marin Vando. On the office building. The original marshal's office has been torn apart. Chapter 463 _ The Distress of the Warring States period. NLT, 43 and GT. The original marshal's office has been torn apart. Therefore, the Warring States temporarily looked for a temporary marshal's office as his temporary office address during this period. Soon, however, he will submit his resignation letter. Let the rest of the troubles be left to the new generation. At this time, inside the marshal's office, Garp looked at the warring states in front of him. His voice was a little low, and said, "From the advanced city, escaped that guy." "Who?" Sengoku raised his brows and asked involuntarily. "Barauric Redfield." The corners of Garp's mouth moved slightly, and his voice became heavier as he said. "At the beginning, he personally caught the opponent and pushed it into the city, but that was only when the opponent was tired, and he shot the opponent. If it was the heyday, in a one-on-one situation, it would be impossible for him to catch the other party. I didn't expect this guy to be released." Warring State's pupils shrank, and his face was a little dignified. "This is a truly incredible powerhouse. In the Old Sea, in addition to Roger, Whitebeard, Golden Lion and others, there was one person who could stand against them alone. Is the Lonely Red, Barauric Redfield. You know, whether it's Roger or Whitebeard, they all belong to a pirate group with a strong man at the beginning. But only this guy, Barauric, was alone. Just relying on his terrifying swordsmanship, he competed with the entire pirate group in court. It can be seen that his strength is terrifying to what extent. If it is one-on-one, Whitebeard is not Barauric's opponent. But now I didn't expect that he actually left from the advanced city. Although his strength is not the same as before, because his age is similar to Whitebeard. Whitebeard is old, and he will naturally enter the state of aging. However, there was always an ominous premonition in Sengoku's heart that this guy would reappear on the world stage. Barauric's vitality is not so fragile. Forget it, now we have no way to deal with it at all." Warring States shook his head, sighed, and felt distressed. Barauric's strength is too strong, not what they can handle now. If they attacked Barauric now, it would be equivalent to facing a terrifying enemy at the level of the Four Emperors. Malin Fando could no longer bear such a blow. A Whitebeard almost sunk Marin Fando. Add a Barauric, and it's really deadly. Warring States, I want to rest for a while and return to the East China Sea. Garp's eyes flashed a bit of sadness, and he shook his head and sighed, saying, "Go, I'll have a rest after a while." Sengoku nodded, and explained Garp's mood very rationally. "Go away." With a heavy heart, Garp left the marshal's office step by step. Looking at Cap's desolate back, Sengoku was speechless. He sighed again, shook his head, his face was sad. The old times are over. It's time for them, veterans, to withdraw from the world stage and reserve more opportunities for young people. Barauric. The corners of the Warring State's mouth moved slightly, and he whispered to himself. His eyes fell into deep thought, and he always had a hunch that he would meet this person again. Also, the group of Blackbeards. Today's era is really eventful. The battlefield has been concentrated in the New World. Next, just wait for the news of the war from the New World. NLT, 44 and GT. Chapter 464 _ A New World of Chaos. New World. Dawn Island. On the island, a group of pirates appeared, and they were fighting frantically on the island. Kill. Whitebeard is dead, and his chassis has been reduced to nothing. In addition, the remnants of the remaining Whitebeard pirates are also being hunted down by the Blackbeard pirates. Let's snatch his chassis right now. Otherwise, we won't have anything to do until other people react. Brothers, kill. ... A group of pirates rushed into the island frantically and slaughtered the civilians. Puff, puff, puff. The sword, light and sword shadow flickered and passed by. One by one, the heads were cut off and rolled on the ground. Countless civilians wailed with pained expressions, watching their relatives being killed by these pirates, their heart-piercing wailing. You damned pirates, you will definitely die. Ah, my thigh, come and save me. Whitebeard is dead, they can't bear it for 2 days, and they attack us. These damn pirates, Whitebeard is still alive, and they don't see them so rampant. Mom, I'm looking for Mom, 19 woo woo tilde. ... Many ordinary civilians were enduring the terrifying massacre, blood was flowing on the ground, and on the floor, the blood slid down the trajectory and spread around. Even children have never been let go. Ah! A middle-aged man, in order to protect his child, his entire body was cut in half. It can be seen from his body that the intestines and internal organs are all exposed on the ground. The scene is extremely terrifying and bloody. If we don't resist, we will be killed by them. They are a group of pirates who do all kinds of evil, completely different from the Whitebeard we respect. Whitebeard doesn't bully the weak, but they do. If we still retain the idea that they will be soft-hearted, then, the last person to die will be us. For the safety of our lives, for the sake of our descendants. We have to strike with me, or we will have to wait to die. A burly middle-aged man grabbed a machete and violently killed a pirate, shouting loudly. Under his leadership, behind him, a group of civilians appeared, holding all kinds of weapons, with a firm expression, and their eyes were focused on the group of pirates in front. Yes, if we don't kill the pirates, we can only die. They thought to themselves, firm in their convictions. Seeing the pirates kill their families, how could they continue to endure it? Whether it's a pirate or someone else, they will take out their weapons to resist anyone who harms their family members without hesitation. Whether they succeed or fail, even in death, they will not regret it. Because they have resisted, there is no way to defeat the pirates. This is a factor that cannot be changed. If they don't resist, they will be attacked and killed by pirates in vain, and if they die, they will die in vain. Is it possible that these pirates who kill without blinking will let them go? No kidding, it's absolutely impossible. Kill. Under the leadership of the burly middle-aged man, a group of ordinary civilians behind them also launched a rapid attack on the pirates in front. The machete went down in a battle. Puff. A pirate was cut in half on the spot. It can be seen that even among ordinary civilians, there are some who are not weak. These damn ordinary people dare to resist. A pirate's pupils shrank, watching a group of ordinary civilians in front of him resist, greatly surprised. Although they are not as numerous as these aborigines, they will definitely not fall behind in terms of actual combat capability. It's better, it's not too boring. A group of pirates laughed and laughed wildly. Chapter 464 A Chaotic New World. NLT, 45 and GT. A group of pirates laughed and laughed wildly. At the same time, in the street not far away, another group of pirates came. It's the Trident Pirates. A pirate's pupils shrank and lost his voice. What are you afraid of? Just have a fight with them. That's right, it's just a pirate with a bounty of 50 million berries. Are we still afraid of him? It's just a joke. Many pirates were unmoved and said nonchalantly. Immediately. On the whole island, not only civilians joined the battlefield, but also the pirates who were unable to connect, and they continued to kill people in order to divide their interests. Kill. A civilian armed with a machete violently beheaded several pirates. Puff. The pirates fought frantically, and countless civilians were beheaded. Everyone's weapons were stained with blood. The bright red blood fell to the ground and flowed slowly along the trajectory. The blood flowed into a river, isn't it exactly such a scene described? Coupled with internal organs, meat pieces, etc., there are countless bloody scenes. The corpses piled up into mountains and gradually became icy cold. Boom. On the shore, the pirate ship launched shelling. One by one, the black shells slammed into the buildings on the island. Ah! Civilians were crushed to shreds by debris from the building, turned into meat sauce, and died on the spot. Boom! Cannonballs pierced through the air, bringing bursts of fire. The sound resounded through the sky, the whole island was shaking, and the buildings were destroyed in a human-like manner. The flames burned, covering all the buildings on the island. That dazzling flame has become the focus of countless people's eyes, unable to extricate themselves. 163 Kill. Watching the flames burn, it aroused the pirates' blood and continued to fight. They looked wild, with smiles all over their faces, looking at the traces of the flames burning, and their hearts were excited. Some pirates fight for resources. However, some pirates kill for the pleasure of killing. Such pirates are even more terrifying. Damn pirates, destroy our home. Many civilians gritted their teeth and looked angry, looking at the raging flames of the surrounding buildings, feeling a deep sense of powerlessness in their hearts. It is not their power that can turn things around. If their home is gone, how can they survive here? Kill them all and take revenge. A group of civilians shouted loudly, anger in their hearts rose, and the flames of anger could be seen in their eyes. Puff, puff, puff. The battle between civilians and pirates continued. In the battlefield, not only one pirate group, but no less than 3 pirate groups have appeared, and the battle between pirates and pirates is also quite fierce. In their eyes, civilians are, at best, nothing more than fat sheep. The real enemies are these pirates who are also pirates. Therefore, the people they attacked first were naturally pirates. The civilians mixed into the battlefield and made stubborn resistance. Chapter 465-Bafang Movement. Not just such a small island. In the New World, wars broke out on countless islands that originally belonged to the Whitebeard pirates. Groups of pirates, like a group of hungry wolves, rushed towards Whitebeard's territory and plundered the original territory of the Whitebeard pirates. On an island. A horrific massacre is going on. Kill. The pirates fought with overwhelming force against a large group of people on the island. The civilians on the island did not have any resistance at all, and were directly slaughtered. Ah! A young girl had her head cut off. His head rolled on the ground, his eyes were still wide, and a deep sense of fear could be seen in his eyes. Such scenes are being staged in every corner of the island. All civilians on the entire island were slaughtered. And the remaining pirate group launched the final collision. Finally, a pirate group stood out, named Swordsman Pirates. This pirate group successfully occupied the entire island and became the new owner of the island. Then transport all the supplies of the island to the ship, be prepared. The whole new world, with Whitebeard's death, brought terrible wars, big and small. Some island residents all died, and some escaped from the island to survive. But what can be seen is that the countless territories that originally belonged to the Whitebeard pirates in the New World have been looted wildly by the pirates one by one. When Whitebeard was alive, they dared not act rashly. Now that Whitebeard is dead, they naturally have nothing to fear. It can be seen that it is precisely because of the death of Whitebeard that the chaos in the New World is directly caused. The fall of one of the 4 emperors, the territory that belongs to him will definitely be plundered. This is the law of the jungle in the New World, without the slightest exception. Whether it is Whitebeard, Kaido, or Redhead, as long as there is death among them, the territory will definitely be robbed. If the captain of the 4 emperors with the most shocking power is dead, this pirate group will have no meaning. Can only be reduced to the loser of the times. Kill. Diaresis. On an island, countless pirates armed with weapons attacked the front. There were corpses everywhere. The blood was thick, and the entire island was stained red with blood. The soil turned bright red, and the corpses were scattered everywhere and piled up into mountains. Too many people died. However, there are so many cascading consequences just because of one person's death. All the island sites that were originally sheltered by the Whitebeard pirates were directly seized, and there was no fear of being attacked by the remnants of the Whitebeard pirates. Joke. Without the Whitebeard pirates, how could it be a deterrent to them? This is absolutely impossible. I hate it. If I knew it earlier, I should have developed my strength. Now, it's too late to say anything. All of us will die here. Who would have thought that Whitebeard is dead? Without his deterrent power, we ordinary people at the grassroots level would have to suffer. Wait a minute, I surrender, I surrender. Don't kill me. Quote. These pictures are being staged in every corner of the island. Chapter 465-Bafang News. NLT, 47 and GT. These pictures are being staged in every corner of the island. Countless people died. If the entire New World and all the islands were added up, no less than 100,000 people would die in one day. The original territory of the Whitebeard pirates was quite vast. Therefore, in this territory, there are also countless large and small islands. His death directly caused the rest of the pirates to attack the island of the Whitebeard pirates. Without his protection, the inhabitants of these islands would end up dying. Perhaps some of them were lucky, and they were not all killed, but were divided into their own territory to help this pirate group forever. In this way, they can save some descendants. Of course. Others directly slaughtered the entire island, and then began to plunder the island's resources, and finally left this sea area completely. It is undoubtedly difficult to find such a pirate group. An island. A group of civilians have been surrounded. They looked at the many pirates in front of them with fear, their lips trembled, and their expressions were full of fear. "Don't kill us, don't kill us. Yes, we can do things for you. For example, for the original Whitebeard pirates, we turned in a certain amount of Bailey every year. If you kill us, you'll only earn a one-time berry. But if you let us go, we'll work for you. You can do it once and for all, and earn countless bellies every year. Wouldn't it be better for you then?" Quote. Many civilians tempted the pirates, and in order to survive, they could only resort to this. Even though they understand that these pirates are villains who eat people and don't spit out bones, they have no choice. In addition to throwing such temptations, the pirates will kill them all. Quote. It's very good. If that's the case, then you can help us work. A captain wearing a pirate admiral came out, laughed loudly, and said bluntly. Compared to disposables, he prefers a steady stream of harvests to Barado's own pockets. "Captain, what if the remnants of the Whitebeard pirates arrive?" A little brother was a little flustered and reminded in a low voice. "Come." The captain was very confident, patted his chest, and shouted, "It's just right when they come, I can kill them directly. The Whitebeard pirates without the Whitebeards are nothing. Captain is wise." Many pirates drank loudly and looked excited. Seeing the frenzied expressions of this group of pirates, many civilians sighed inwardly and shook their heads, feeling enormous pressure in their hearts. This time, they really want to do things for this group of pirates forever. Good jows. Maybe some children on the island will go out to sea to survive as a pirate in the future. New World. It was divided into 4 regions, each ruled by 4 emperors. But because of the death of Whitebeard, there are 3 remaining emperors of the 4 emperors. The rest of the emperor's territory will naturally be constantly swept away. On the island of Pelona, an incomparably huge figure, looking down at the group of younger brothers in front of him, said solemnly, "What happened to Whitebeard's site?" "Boss Kaido, Whitebeard's territory is being swept away by countless pirate groups. Lord Jack has already dispatched, and he will surely capture those islands soon." A little brother was frightened and stood up with gritted teeth and told the truth. "That's right." The huge and burly man standing in front of him is one of the 4 emperors, the captain of the beast pirates, the beast Kaido. Chapter 466-4 Emperors Dispatched. The 100 beast pirates naturally couldn't let go of this piece of fat. In the eyes of everyone, it is already a huge piece of fat. It belongs to the territory of the Whitebeard pirates. After Whitebeard's death, it obviously does not have any deterrent effect. Kaido will inevitably send people out to snatch Whitebeard's territory and expand his own territory, which is the most important thing. What about the other 4 emperors? Kaido asked without any expression fluctuations. The only people who can compete with him are the other 4 emperors. Among them, the red-haired pirates have no intention of competing for territory. Then his only competitor is left, Charlotte Lingling. The 2 had known each other before, and both knew each other's terrifying strength. He didn't want to collide with Charlotte Lingling unless it was a last resort. Besides, he still owes Charlotte Lingling a huge debt of gratitude. It's just that he will definitely fight for this kind of thing. "Boss, only Charlotte Ling was dispatched. They dispatched 6 of the 34 ministers to prepare to plunder the territory of the Whitebeard pirates. The little brother thought for a while and replied in a deep voice. "Leave him alone, it's best if you can get the territory, but if you can't get it, I won't force it too much." Kaido's face was calm, and he continued to ask, "By the way, how is the situation in the New World now?" He was going to leave for a while to find a way to kill himself. "So, before you leave, you still have to understand these things clearly. Now, all the pirates are fighting one after another. In just one day, the number of people who died is no less than 300,000 people. Among them, some are civilians, and more are pirates. One by one, the pirates were also destroyed in the battle, and they no longer exist. On this day, there are countless pirate groups that have disappeared." Quote. This little brother slowly reported all the news he had recently received to his captain and boss. "Okay, back off." Kaido waved his hand casually and said, "Yes." The younger brother nodded, slightly relieved, turned his head, and left directly. Standing in front of Kaido, he felt the feeling that he was about to suffocate. It made his breathing become very messy, his face flushed, and his legs almost fell to the ground. Apart from Jack, the two of them are carrying out that thing, and there should be results, right? BJCB. Kaido's eyes narrowed slightly, thinking so in his heart. The other two people, referring to, are naturally the other two people who are the 3 major disasters except the drought. Also, there has been a lot of uproar in the ocean recently. The remnants of the Whitebeard pirates seem to have returned to the New World. However, for me now, they don't have any threat at all. Kaido's mouth moved slightly, and he whispered. Even if Whitebeard was still alive, he would not have the slightest fear. Not to mention, the current Whitebeard is dead. Then he acts even more unscrupulously. If the remnants of the Whitebeard pirates come to provoke him, he doesn't mind killing the remaining members of the Whitebeard pirates. To him, it was just a matter of raising his hand. ... At the same time, make an island somewhere in the New World. The members of the Red Hair Pirates stayed here for a day. How's it going? The red hair looked at the crew next to him, expressionless, and said. His mood was somewhat depressed. After all, Whitebeard still had a relationship with him. Chapter 466 The 4 Emperors are dispatched. NLT, 49 and GT. His mood was somewhat depressed. After all, Whitebeard still had a relationship with him. It's confusing. The rest of the members sighed, shook their heads, and said. Today's New World, how can it be chaotic to describe? Killing is everywhere, and in this day's time, the news of the destruction of countless pirate groups came out. Also, the news that the islands were slaughtered cleanly. Although the redhead would not be pitiful enough to sympathize with the residents of those islands, he would feel more or less gloomy in his heart when he heard the deaths of so many people. After thinking for a while, he asked, "What about this guy Titch? I heard that they are constantly recruiting troops." Then Beckman said slowly with a bit of solemnity, "I suspect that he is going to attack the throne of the 4 emperors. With his current influence, plus the prisoners brought from the advancing city. Also, everywhere, recruiting troops to spread their power." Quote. It can be seen that he wants to replace Whitebeard. At present, he is also the most likely group to succeed. In addition, the rest of the pirate groups can't compete with him at all. Finished talking. The redhead's face became more and more gloomy, and he said nothing. "Come on, let's go back." The redhead took a deep breath and said. The chaos in the New World can still continue, and he still doesn't want to get involved in this chaotic battlefield. As a pirate, he has never wanted territory. He just wants to be the feeling of freedom of a pirate. If it wasn't for his own territory, he wouldn't be bothered to manage it. In the final analysis, although Whitebeard looks fierce, in fact, it has sheltered countless people. But he has red hair, but he never thought of sheltering those ordinary people. His heart is very pure, he just lives for himself, and for the people he values. As for those who have nothing to do with him, they don't have much to do with him, and he doesn't want to get involved. Cake Island. This is the address of Charlotte Lingling, one of the 4 emperors, the Big Mom pirates. The whole island is made of cakes, there are desserts everywhere, and nothing else exists. In a huge cake palace. A fat woman grinned. Whitebeard is actually dead. It's good, we can completely occupy his territory. I want more and more desserts. Yes, mother. In front of her, several young men knelt on one knee and nodded. Also, is there any news about the Liang I asked you to inquire about before that he is coming to the New World? Charlotte Lingling's eyes twinkled, and she asked again. She has high expectations for the bloodline and descendants of that Liang. If he can reproduce with each other, he must be a very terrifying powerhouse. Heard. The children in front of her did not dare to say a word. Although they are very afraid of their mother, that Liang's reputation is even louder. Especially at the top of the war station, the Scarlet Demon, who doesn't know? Like the god of death on the battlefield, wherever he goes, corpses are everywhere. This Liang is a real terrifying powerhouse. They worry that if their mother goes crazy and must get Liang, it will bring disaster to their entire pirate group. Why don't you talk? Charlotte Lingling shouted with impatience on her face. Reporting to mother, that Liang also left for the New World. Several of them hurriedly and truthfully told the truth, and they felt a little panic in their hearts. Isn't he here yet? I'm getting impatient. But soon, I can sense that he's coming to the New World. I'll have to catch him then. Charlotte Lingling showed a wicked smile and laughed. Her unique and sharp laughter echoed throughout the palace. Chapter 467-Blackbeard in Conspiracy. New World. Kerala Island. On the island, the Blackbeard pirates and the others were smiling, burning flames, eating meat and drinking. Brothers, eat as soon as possible. It is not advisable to stay here for a long time. The mad dog of a Kainu is going to chase us soon. We can't stay in this place for too long. Blackbeard smiled wildly and said slowly. They entered the New World from the Great Waterway, and a Kainu was haunted, always following them. In addition, Blackbeard himself is not too familiar with the ability of Junjun fruit, so he can avoid collision with a Kainu. Moreover, his purpose has never been to deal with a Kainu. Rather, the throne of the 4 emperors in the New World. Boss, those guys from Akainu are here again. Van Oka saw the warships appearing on the sea with his sight glasses and said quickly. Let's go. Blackbeard wiped the oil stains from the corners of his mouth. Lang Lang smiled. Although he avoided a collision with Akainu, if he really wanted to fight, he would not be afraid at all. Soon, they set sail again, avoiding a collision with Akainu. After sailing for a while, they got rid of the Akainu again and successfully arrived at an island inhabited by residents. Little ones, with this as the center point, we are going to recruit troops aggressively. Blackbeard's eyes shone brightly, and he shouted. The throne of the 4 emperors naturally requires a lot of preparations. Recruiting troops is certain, simply relying on his original crew, plus taking out prisoners from the advancing city, is far from enough. They must recruit more pirates to join them, so that they can attack the throne of the 4 emperors. If the number of people is not enough, it is impossible for him to become the 4th emperor. Just after Blackbeard's order was given, a message spread throughout the New World. That is, the news of the extensive recruitment of Blackbeard pirates. Because of the war, Blackbeard has also become a pirate well known to countless people. Especially the record of killing Whitebeard. This is a huge reputation that does not need publicity. Soon, there are countless pirates rushing to join the Blackbeard pirates. At the same time, Blackbeard assigned the crew members who originally followed him to sub-captains. Captain 1, Bossos. Captain number 2, Shilyu of the Rain. Captain 5 Lafitte. The captains appeared, and he, Blackbeard, as the admiral of the pirates, became the highest decision-making figure shrouded in all captains. "Admiral, here's another pirate group. They want to join our Blackbeard pirates. Besides, they came with some remnants of Whitebeard." Lafitte looked at Blackbeard, his eyes twinkled, and said, "Oh." Blackbeard's eyes flashed, and with interest, he said, "Lead the way." Soon, Blackbeard successfully reached the position on the shore. A group of pirates are escorting two pirates, and they are thrown on the ground at will. Seeing the arrival of Blackbeard, they quickly flattered and said, "This must be the chief admiral of the Blackbeard pirates, Lord Blackbeard Titch." "It's me." Blackbeard laughed loudly and nodded. This feeling of high authority made him very enjoy. "Admiral Blackbeard, these two guys belong to the Whitebeard pirates that we killed. One of the members of the pirates could only catch the two of them at the time." Chapter 467 Blackbeard in Conspiracy. NLT, 51 and GT. "Admiral Blackbeard, these two guys belong to the Whitebeard pirates that we killed. One of the members of the pirates could only catch the two of them at the time." "This is a bald head," he said with a smile on his face. "The pirates under the Whitebeard pirates." Blackbeard's eyes narrowed slightly, looking at the two pirates who were kneeling on the ground and trapped in chains, with a meaningful smile. "I see. Titch, you bloody traitor." The two pirates were wearing black beards and shouted loudly, "Death is imminent, how dare you be so mad." The bald man kicked away and shouted with an angry face, "How sad." Blackbeard shook his head with a faint smile, looked at the two pirates, and said, "Just use the person you most respect, his power, to give you a good time." "You." The two pirates said with anger on their faces. "Sad." Blackbeard shook his head, his left hand grabbed a pirate's head, and a white halo appeared. Click. The atmosphere is cracked. At the same time, the entire head of the pirate was shaken to pieces. On the side, another pirate was fearless and laughed, "Tiki, come on, kill me. As a traitor, I only hate that I don't have the strength to kill you." "As you wish." Blackbeard once again used the ability of the shaking fruit to kill the remaining pirate. People at this level don't have much use value. Therefore, Blackbeard does not need to keep them as a drag. "Admiral, please let us join the pirate group under the Blackbeard pirates." The bald man looked at the Blackbeard very sincerely and said, "No problem." Blackbeard laughed and nodded. When he saw that someone wanted to join, he naturally had no time to be happy, so how could he refuse? The current Blackbeard pirates is at a time when there is a shortage of manpower. Any pirates who come to join, no matter how unconscionable they have done before, he Blackbeard directly accepts. He is not a good person, and he never cares how many bad things other people have done. As long as he joins the Blackbeard pirates and works for him, he will give him a good job and protection. "Lord Admiral, another pirate group is about to join us." Lafitte's eyes twinkled and shouted, "Good." Blackbeard became very excited and said with a smile, "Let's get everyone together, I'm going to announce a big event. After this, we will be famous in the whole new world." "Oh!" Countless pirates shouted loudly, and looking at Blackbeard's confident expression, Zhao Hao made their hearts feel much more at ease. "Join the Blackbeard pirates, where do we need to be like before?" The bald man thought so in his heart, and the smile on his face became even bigger. In the past, as the opponent of the Whitebeard pirates, he was overwhelmed by the opponent. In the end, as a last resort, he could only hide, avoid the pursuit of the Whitebeard pirates, and never appear in the territory of the Whitebeard pirates. This is just great. Whitebeard is dead, then they don't need to have the slightest fear. The people I invest in will definitely succeed in the new 4 emperors. The bald man looked at the figure with the black beard, thinking confidently. At this time, looking at the growing Blackbeard pirates, Blackbeard's emotions are indescribable. It's time. He has a plan in his heart, before he becomes the 4th emperor. The last thing must be dealt with in order to successfully ascend the throne of the 4 emperors. Chapter 468 _ The Remnants of the Whitebeard Pirates. The only obstacle to becoming the 4 emperors is that there is only one point left. This point will be the stumbling block for Blackbeard to finally enter the 4 emperors. In his eyes, he never thinks that he will lose, but he is already a little excited in his heart. Marco. Blackbeard's eyes narrowed slightly, the corners of his mouth moved slightly, and he muttered to himself. The remnants of the Whitebeard Pirates. This was the last threshold that stood in his way. If he can't defeat these people, then it is definitely impossible for him to become the 4th emperor. However, he is quite confident in his own strength and the strength of the people around him. Even Whitebeard is dead, will Marco be far behind? He has already controlled the fruit of the shock, how could he be afraid of the mere Marco? Captain Marco, wait for me, I'll find you soon. Blackbeard said with a smile, a meaningful expression appeared on his face. Admiral Blackbeard, the staff has been assembled. A younger brother came and told the truth. Good. Blackbeard took a deep breath, turned his head, and walked not far away. New World. The turmoil caused by the death of Whitebeard was quite terrifying. On the islands, countless people died, civilians died one by one, and countless pirate groups fought for territory, causing heavy casualties. The entire C-363 domain of the New World is full of blood. Every day, many people are killed because of the competition for Whitebeard's territory. At the same time, the beast pirates of the 4 emperors and the Big Mom pirates have also dispatched personnel to divide all Whitebeard's territory into their own territory. Fishman Island, Samacrow's Island, Bodaba Island, Fire Island and more. All the territories that originally belonged to the Whitebeard pirates have become their targets. As long as it can be used as their territory, they will never let it go. Any site means a huge resource output. Therefore, whether it is Kaido or Charlotte Lingling, they will continue to fight for these resources. At this time, inside Gree Island, a group of pirates fought frantically, their blood boiled, and they shouted loudly. Kill. They held knives and kept harvesting the lives of the people on the island. Location on the shore. A pirate looked at the sea area ahead, his pupils shrank, and he shouted, Captain, it's not good, there is a pirate group coming. Come and come, so what? A middle-aged man sneered and said lightly, do they still have the strength to compete with BJCJ, us? Not everyone can get a share of the pie with us. His name is Niga. Captain of the Black Tang Pirates, a bounty of 120 million berries. In this sea area of the New World, his strength is not bad. Especially in the island where he is now, which is relatively remote, his strength can basically be the kind of king and hegemony. Therefore, what he said is also very emboldened. No, Captain. The crew member's lips were trembling, his eyes were constantly enlarged, looking at the flag of the pirate ship ahead. He lost his voice, this is the flag of the Beast's Pirates. They are the Beast's Pirates. Wait. Nig's lips trembled and he blurted out, what did you say? They are the pirate ships of the Beast Pirates. The crew's eyes widened, unable to calm down for a long time, said. Let me see. Chapter 468 _ The Remnants of the Whitebeard Pirates. Let me see. Nig couldn't calm down, although he was very confident in his own strength. But in the face of a giant like the 100 Beast Pirates, he seemed very weak. Naturally, if they really want to confront each other, they are not the enemy of each other at all. Even if he could really defeat the enemy, he wouldn't dare to do it. In the New World, who doesn't know about the Beast Pirates? Unless he, including the crew, will die and dare to provoke the madman Kaido. Let's go. Nig looked at the many crew members around him, thought for a moment, and said through gritted teeth. However, we still have a lot of resources. A crew member hesitated for a moment and said. Resources are more important or life is more important. If they meet, we will suffer. The Beast Pirates, we can't afford it. Nig said angrily. Immediately, everyone wilted. Really? Under the shock of the reputation of the beast pirates, it is difficult for them to have the courage to collide with each other. Visnia Island. Edge Zone. A broken pirate ship, on the shore. On the ground, stood a group of pirates, headed by the Phoenix Marco. They successfully returned to the New World from the Great Waterway, and they also learned that the land that originally belonged to them was constantly being plundered. But in this regard, they can only swallow their anger. Because, without Whitebeard, they are nothing. If you want to shake the rest of the four emperors, it is impossible to achieve without the power of Whitebeard. They can only hide on a small island, lingering on. Damn. Diamond Yoja gritted his teeth and angrily broke the tree with one arm, feeling extremely angry. Seeing the scene that originally belonged to their territory was taken away by others, they are not the taste. In particular, the original residents of those islands were slaughtered by those pirates. This is simply an executioner. We have to prepare our strength for the last big battle. Marco looked at the many captains and said slowly. That's right. Diamond Yoja nodded, his face was dignified, he gritted his teeth, and said, I must not let this damn traitor Titch go. Also, he actually wants to attack the throne of the four emperors, it's a dream. I can't let the traitor Titch go, I must kill him and sacrifice to the spirit of the father in the sky. And Ace. That's right, Captain Marco, now, it's up to you to arrange it, we all listen to you. Quote. Many pirates shouted loudly and said with a high-pitched face. Regardless of success or failure, in this battle, they must collide with Blackbeard. Be sure to stop the other party from becoming the fourth emperor. If you can, you must kill Titch to comfort Dad for his kindness to them. Everyone, if you don't want to participate in this battle, you can withdraw by yourself. I don't force it. Moreover, once you arrive on the battlefield, there will be death. I hope that those who participate will be mentally prepared. Marco looked at the people in front of him and said slowly. Captain Marco, stop talking, we're all in the war. That's right, Titch, the damn traitor, killed Dad, and we have to pay with his life. No matter how bad it is, we can't let him successfully ascend to Dad's throne. That's right, Captain Marco, give your order, we won't quit. There isn't a single coward in our Whitebeard pirates. Quote. There was a lot of talk, and many pirates looked firm. Immediately. Marco's face was slightly moved, he took a deep breath, and shouted, Okay, get ready, we are about to fight this guy's pirate group with a frontal outbreak. Chapter 469 _ The Final Battle. In the next time. The New World is in chaos. The pirates frantically plundered the territory of the Whitebeard pirates, and the four emperors also dispatched. 100 Beasts pirates had a head-on collision with the Big Mom pirates. Just when everyone thought there was a good show to watch, in the end, it was over. The four emperors who were vying for territory chose to have nothing to do with each other, to continue to fight. To have reached some kind of consensus, and they never met again. Territory of the Whitebeard pirates equally. As for the rest, they must be driven away. If you can't drive it away, just kill it. In this sea area, the four emperors represent absolute power. At the same time, another news came out that the Blackbeard pirates had a wide range of recruits, and they had already threatened to wipe out all the remnants of the Whitebeard pirates. Immediately, undercurrents surged across the entire sea area, causing countless pirates to talk. Have you heard that the Blackbeard pirates have recently recruited several pirates to join them? My God, except for the 4 emperors who dare not move, who else is their opponent? No, plus, Blackbeard has threatened to exterminate the remnants of the Whitebeard pirates. His goal is very clear, to ascend the throne of the new 4 emperors. You said, can the remnants of the Whitebeard pirates be able to resist? Isn't this a joke? They're lost. How can the Whitebeard pirates without Whitebeards compete with the Blackbeard pirates who are now widely recruited? Quote. There was a lot of talk, and all kinds of speculations came out. Some people think that the remnants of the Whitebeard pirates may win, but more people think that the people of the Blackbeard pirates will win. In addition to these, the other two pirate groups of the four emperors also plundered wildly. Countless islands have been reduced to the territory of their four emperors. This made many scattered pirate groups miserable. When the territory that he had managed to conquer with great difficulty was attacked by the four emperors, he had to surrender. There is no way, who made Aang and the others not the opponents of the four emperors, they can only resort to this. If they don't give up their territories, they will all die. Compared with life, resources and territory are not so important. Still a mortal situation. After provoking the four emperors, they will not be able to sail in the New World in the future. At the same time, a heavy bomb dropped. The New World boiled again. Many pirates, civilians, and even Navy spies have all passed on this news back so that everyone can clearly know. In the next time, the New World, there will be a terrifying battle. Marin Vando. Office of the Marshal. Warring States frowned and hung up the phone bug. News of the New World, he must be paying close attention to it. Therefore, he can clearly know the many situations there. Whether it was Whitebeard's land being taken away, or the massacre of many civilians, these news had been lingering in his ears in recent days, and he couldn't completely forget them. In addition, the news of Blackbeard has basically enveloped the whole New World. To say which news in the New World is the hottest recently. Of course, it belongs to the Blackbeard pirates. Chapter 469 _ The Final Battle. Of course, it belongs to the Blackbeard pirates. There are countless news about the Blackbeard pirates, and it has basically become a topic of daily discussion in people's mouths. In particular, their extensive recruitment has made it obvious to countless people. The Blackbeard pirates want to ascend to the throne of the four emperors. This guy, Blackbeard, really planned everything from the beginning. Sengoku rubbed his temples, shook his head with a troubled face and sighed. Blackbeard, who even he can't see through, really has a very deep purpose. In this top war, the fact is that the person who benefits the most is Blackbeard himself. The rest, whether it's the Whitebeard pirates or their navy headquarters, are just two tigers fighting each other, and directly reaping all the benefits for the third party. Although the Navy headquarters won the victory in the end, it was also a tragic victory. I didn't expect it. Sengoku shook his head, looking at the damaged Marin Vando outside the window, said. After all, I still underestimate the Blackbeard guy. Unexpectedly, the other party's goal was so high from the beginning. 0. It is not to become Chiwahai. To become Chiwahai, it is just a transition period. The ultimate goal is to board the four emperors and replace the Whitebeard. This is something that the warring states could never imagine in the past. Only now, Blackbeard is really about to do it, and this is where he is terrified. The layout is quite meticulous, with almost no loopholes. All in all, they are doing things for Blackbeard. As Blackbeard prepares to ascend to the throne of the four emperors, it should be the final battle with the remnants of the Whitebeard pirates. Just now, people from the New World also sent back news. It is said that the remnants of the Whitebeard pirates are also getting ready to go. Obviously, they will fight with Blackbeard to the end. After all, it was Blackbeard who killed Whitebeard. Moreover, he was a traitor, which made them unbearable. This war is inevitable. Sengoku's eyes flickered, thinking so in his heart. This last battle is already inevitable. Blackbeard's purpose is to ascend to the four emperors, and he has to get rid of the remnants of the Whitebeard pirates. On the other hand, the members of the remnants of the Whitebeard pirates wanted to avenge their own father, and they wanted to pull Blackbeard off the altar. In this way, both parties have a common purpose. That is, get rid of the opponent. It can be seen that no matter what, this battle will definitely happen. It's just the time that happened that he couldn't judge. He has a hunch that this final battle will soon be on the world stage. In the not too distant time, it will definitely explode. Thinking of this, Sengoku took a deep breath and informed the personnel of the New World again. Let the personnel over there always pay attention to the actions of the New World. This time, their Navy headquarters also had some thoughts of wanting to enter the New World and take root. Of course. This idea was proposed by the radical Akainu. Although the warring states did not agree with it, they did not object. It is good to be prepared for everything. If the Navy takes root in the New World, it will also have a huge impact on the pattern of the New World. Everything is unknown and needs to be explored step by step. However, for the Navy headquarters, it is still too far to take root in the New World. For a while, it's simply impossible. Chapter 470-Lonely Red. It's just that the confrontation between the Whitebeard Remnant Party and the Blackbeard Pirates is about to appear. This battle will freeze the pattern of the New World. Whether it's the victory of the Whitebeard Remnant Party or the victory of the Blackbeard, there will always be a force on the world stage again. Will the remnants of Whitebeard be able to maintain the 4 emperors? Or will Blackbeard replace Whitebeard's 4 emperors? All of this is an unknown mystery. Warring States thought in his heart and whispered to himself. Looking at the broken Malin Fando outside the window, he rubbed his temples in distress. All in all, the most important thing at the moment is to fix the damage to Marine Fando. The battle in the New World is 108,000 miles away from Marin Fando, it doesn't matter how it happens. Anyway, in the end there will only be one result. And this result cannot be changed by the Navy headquarters. In this case, it is better to ignore the past of 763 directly, so as not to worry about yourself. This guy Garp will also return to the East China Sea. Akainu's injuries have not fully recovered, and there are other Navy who have not recovered from serious injuries. It's really troublesome. Warring States sighed, feeling extremely helpless. There is so much waiting for him to do. Immediately, he glanced at his drawer, took out an envelope from the drawer, his eyes flashed a bit of nostalgia and reluctance, but he still had firm determination. He was already very tired. Next, let the younger generation govern this sea area. This envelope is naturally his resignation letter. About to retire from the world stage and stay in the Navy headquarters as a retired veteran, wouldn't it be more comfortable for such a day? Thinking of this, the corners of his mouth twitched and he laughed. The thought of the day he could retire made him feel very happy. No matter how much trouble the Navy headquarters had, it wouldn't come to his mind. He only needs to be a veteran, with occasional attendance. Other things have little to do with him, and he doesn't need to worry about other things. Almost forgot, Marin Vando, and this monster. I don't know how long it will take for him to leave. Sengoku rubbed his eyes, feeling a little heavy. This guy Liang is still staying in the naval headquarters, which makes him feel relaxed. This is a time bomb that can detonate Marin Vando at any time. Such a threat was always tied to their hearts, and if they were not careful, the time bomb exploded, and all of them had to suffer. Try to avoid meeting him as much as possible, this guy has absolutely no idea what he's thinking. Warring States shook his head, and said with a bit of a wry smile on his face. ... Great Fairway. On the sea, a raft moved with the wind and gradually moved forward with the direction of the current. On the raft, stood an old man in red clothes. His eyes were bright, but his skin was already old, like tree bark, which was very obvious. He was dressed in bright red clothes, which stood out quite prominently. He held an umbrella-like weapon in his left hand, his eyes twinkled, and he looked at the sea in front of him. On his shoulder, stood a smaller animal, like a little civet cat, with a bit of agile eyes, very simple and cute. The old man in red clothes naturally escaped from the advancing city and has been sailing on the sea for a while, Baroric Redfield. He is also known as the Lonely Red. The small animal standing on his shoulders is Padang in the form of a dog and a raccoon. It can be transformed into a raccoon, and a special leaf will appear, which can turn all the things painted on the leaves into reality. Whether it is a person or an object, it can become a real appearance. Chapter 470-Lonely Red. Whether it is a person or an object, it can become a real appearance. If you draw a green pheasant on a leaf, then the green pheasant will become a reality, and it can also have the ability of a realistic horror frozen fruit. It can be seen that this devil fruit is quite terrifying. And Thadong, it was Barorik who went to sea for a while when he met his first partner. In the old days, he went out to sea alone, thinking that his partners and so on were a burden. But now that he realized it, he also pulled Thadong into the team sailing with him. Now, their goal is a devil fruit. According to the information recorded in the historical article, the bat fruit is located in a place called Anala Island. There, it is said to be an ancient island with a long history. Barorik held the map in both hands, frowned, and whispered to himself. He is too old. All the strengths have been lowered by several grades. For this, he had to go out to sea in search of the bat fruit, a devil fruit that would restore his youth 0. Thinking of this, Li Yang's figure appeared in his head. The original opponent, actually, the prophecy was successful. Is it a prophecy, or did he have a plan? Barorik pondered for a moment and said. He couldn't think of an answer, but he was certain that that person was absolutely terrifying. No matter what, the bat fruit, he is bound to get it. As for what he will do after getting the bat fruit, it is unknown. After escaping from the advanced city, he also learned a lot of news. Roger's death, the disappearance of the Golden Lion, the death of Whitebeard, etc., all the enemies of his time were either dead or missing. This made his mood quite complicated, as if he had been fighting for half his life, but in the end, he saw the silent deaths of all his rivals. And in the end, there was still the loneliness of his alone. This feeling, indescribable, made him even want to leave this sea directly with the old times. He still held back, remembering what Li Yang told him. The throne of the One Piece has already been lost to me. Barorik gave a wry smile and shook his head. The ambition is there, but he has been out of touch with the times. This era is not his previous era. Even if he wins One Piece, so what? In that era, he was a loser, lost to Roger. This is the reality. One step at a time. Barorik looked at the surging sea and said lightly, "Hope, it won't be too bad. If you get the devil fruit, then go to the place that guy said. There, maybe it's more suitable for me." After making up his mind, he led Thadong on his shoulders and sailed all the way to disappear without a trace. An old-time horror giant, just like that, has no intention of fighting the pirates of the sea. After all, his heart is already old. Over the years, in order to compete for One Piece, he kept fighting. The body is old, and the heart is also old. Continue to fight at sea. He is no longer in such a mood. If so, choose comfort. This is also what he thought in his heart. Perhaps, after finding the devil fruit, it is also a good way to pass the time to find the address that Li Yang said, and to do things for the other party. Chapter 471 Marin Vando's Gala. Marin Vando. The sun shines down. A warm breath permeated and spread. Everyone felt the warmth and smiled. Even the wounded with white bandages on their bodies enjoyed the warmth and tranquility of Marin Vando with a smile. After the war, there is always such an atmosphere. Although each of them has only experienced a war of this scale, it is their luck to survive the war. Although there were also many brothers who died in the battle. But as the Navy, wasn't that something they were prepared for from the start? For the people, donate your life. That's what they kept in mind when they first joined the Navy, and it never changed. I heard that there will be a party tonight. In order to celebrate our victory, a late party will be held tonight. Although I have an injury, it does not prevent me from attending. No, I heard that there are some female soldiers who are very beautiful. What if I ran into them at the party? Wouldn't that be nice? You got it. Looking at your appearance, it's not your turn when it's my turn. Go away. Quote. The Navy 08 had a lot to say and laughed. After winning the battle, they were naturally much happier than the members of the Whitebeard pirates. They also lost a lot of manpower, but fortunately, none of the high-level personnel died. In this case, they still killed Whitebeard, and they could definitely say that it was a victory. The mood that had been suppressed for too long a while ago was also released. Killing the Whitebeard pirates without a single piece of armor also gave them a lot of confidence. At the same time, the entire Marin Vatican was lit up everywhere, looking very lively. In order to celebrate the victory, many people have already set up a lot of decorations and buildings in the empty playground, preparing to hold a grand party. This party will be attended by all the senior officers of the Navy headquarters. It can be seen how shrouded the party is. In this regard, many navies naturally have to prepare properly. Even the seriously injured people swore and threatened to attend the party. After all, such a large-scale party held in Marin Vando is rare. Many Navy soldiers have joined Marin Vando for so many years, and this has only happened once. After the war, every Navy soldier's mood was released and became extremely excited. Holding such a party is also in line with their needs. The main thing is, as a naval soldier, it is difficult for them to see women on weekdays. Once the party appeared this time, it was equivalent to giving them a chance to have a blind date. This kind of opportunity is very rare. I'm so excited, can I meet a lot of girls tonight? No, the clerks who usually hide in the office building will show up tonight. It's usually hard to see them. Today, if you're lucky, wouldn't you be able to get them? This is really exciting. Quote. The entire Marin Vatican was full of laughter and laughter. The holding of the party effectively freed them from the haze of their moods, which originally made them feel uncomfortable because of the death of the Navy soldiers. And now, it can be completely released. At this time, Liang and Hancock also happened to be walking on the path of Marin Vando, and the excited words of the Navy that occasionally came in their ears made them a little surprised. Chapter 471-Marin Vando's Gala. Liang and Hancock also happened to be walking on the path of Marin Vando, and the excited words of the Navy that occasionally came in their ears made them a little surprised. Party. The corners of Liang's mouth were slightly upturned, and he smiled with a hint of surprise. It's really interesting. I've never heard of such a party being held here in Marin Vando. I'm afraid, this is the first time. Hancock showed a sweet smile on his pretty face, and wrapped his arms around Liang's arms, saying, "Yes." Liang nodded in agreement. On such solemn occasions as Marin Vando, a party is held. This is really astonishing. I can't believe it was proposed by the high-ranking personnel of the Navy headquarters. I don't know who would bring up such a thing. However, in this way, the depressed atmosphere of the Navy soldiers can also be slightly relieved. It's a good way to let the Navy soldiers play to their hearts. On weekdays, they are used to being restrained, and it is also very good to release them once in a while. Liang thought for a while and smiled. That's right. Hancock tilted his head, thought about it, and laughed. On her delicate face, there was a very sweet smile, and her fair skin made people linger, unable to extricate themselves. The black hair moves with the wind, and the devil's tall figure is full of vitality, youthful vigor, and mature charm, which is really intoxicating. Let's go take a look too. Liang looked forward and smiled. Yeah. Hancock nodded lightly and said. The two gradually walked towards the empty playground. Seeing that the number of the Navy was also increasing, they were all concentrated in the playground, covered with a red carpet, surrounded by various decorations, chandeliers and so on. The Navy's work efficiency is considerable. Liang was full of praise for seeing it, but with his arrival, the scene fell into a dead silence. It seems that we are not very welcome. Liang touched his nose and smiled. You are not welcome. The whole world will not hate a woman as beautiful as hers. Hancock raised his pretty face and said with a grin, revealing his white teeth, a pair of big eyes blinked, and his long eyelashes trembled, which was unbelievably beautiful. While smiling like this, I don't know how many Navy were stunned by the current action. Some were even hit on their feet by the tools in their hands. The pain was unbearable, and cold sweat dripped from their foreheads. Let's go, you little goblin has been here for a long time, and they can't do things normally. Li Ang rubbed Hancock's black hair with a smile, and pulled Hancock's little hand away gradually. Hem. Hancock narrowed his eyes slightly, with a sweet smile on his pretty face, and let Li Ang hold his little hand, and his long, slender and straight legs swayed. Soon, she followed behind Li Ang and left step by step. Go to work and see what to see. A lieutenant general shouted with a face full of anger. Immediately, all the Navy was at work again. It's just that no matter how tired they are still smiling. Being able to prepare for the party, how could they refuse? It's too late to be happy. I am really looking forward to tonight's performance. There should be those girls in the office, right? It's possible, don't even think about it, it's yours, it's yours. If not, you won't get it even if you think about it. That's right. Besides, we only have so many girls in the Navy. For boys, there are almost 3 or 4 times more than girls. This competition is fierce. Chapter 472 Night. Soon. Li Ang and Hancock returned to their residence. It's too tiring. Wherever you go, people will come to see you. Hancock lay directly on the sofa, his pretty face was a little tired, and he said helplessly. Who made you a leprechaun so pretty? Li Ang sat beside Hancock, wrapped his arms around the latter's slender waist unconsciously, leaned on the other's fragrant shoulders, and laughed softly. It's all you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be so exaggerated as an animal to be watched in a zoo. Now, go out with you, and there are other people's eyes everywhere. Hancock rolled his eyes, looking charming. Li Ang couldn't help but pecked at the corner of the latter's mouth, and said with a smile, My Lady Empress is no exception. Everyone's eyes are dumbfounded. Huh. Hancock snorted, but with a happy face. It was obvious that she was still very satisfied with what Li Ang said. She turned her beautiful eyes and said, Lord Empress, but it belongs to a certain bad guy. Others, Lord Empress, don't even look at them with the right eyes. Is a bad guy still satisfied? Satisfied, of course satisfied. Li Ang put his arms around Hancock's soft body and smiled. At the same time, his hands slipped unconsciously, feeling the delicate touch and lingering. Hancock blushed and said, I just praised you, and I'm restless so soon. It's just weird, my Empress is so charming. Li Ang laughed and said. Your mouth is the sweetest. Hancock's delicate face was blushing with 2 bright flowers, and he said angrily. But if her sweetheart praises her, she must be very useful, but it's just not shown on her face. Unconsciously. Li Ang carried Hancock into the room. Seeing Hancock, whose pretty face was blushing, Li Ang pounced directly. For a while. The door of the room closed, and there was a faint sound, which was intriguing. ... Time flies by. After most of the day's work, Marin Fando's empty playground, the original damaged ground has also been directly covered by the red carpet. The entire open space showed a bright scene. At night, the moonlight filled with a halo. The temperature has gradually become colder, and occasionally a sea breeze blows, refreshing. In this empty playground, it was already full of people and it was very lively. A large group of navvies piled up into a mountain and surrounded the place. The lights are always bright, making this place the most dazzling area in the dark night of Marin Vandu. Not far away. A man in a black suit walked step by step. His facial features were sharp and angular, and he had a somewhat old but not arrogant demeanor. At first glance, he turned out to be the Marshal of the Warring States period. It's a pity, this guy Carp is going too fast, otherwise I'll have to stay with him at this party without getting drunk. Sengoku shook his head and said with a sigh. Carp returned to the East China Sea too early and missed this prosperous party. This was the first time in the history of Marin Vando that such a grand party was held. As a marshal, he had to participate in it and leave a good memory. Before long, he will be dismissed from the post of marshal. Take advantage of the present, and enjoy the feeling of being in the position of Marshal. Warring States, you old man can actually wear formal clothes. Beside the Warring States, a white-haired lady appeared, smiling faintly. He, aren't you too? Chapter 472 _ Night. He, aren't you too? Sengoku looked at Lieutenant General Crane beside him, smiled and said. At this time, Lieutenant General Crane was also wearing a formal suit. Although it was not too solemn, it could be considered to fit into such an atmosphere. No one wears a Navy uniform. This night does not belong to the Navy, but to each of them. Every Navy soldier appeared in a black uniform, and the scene was quite grand. A large area of the Navy boiled, and it was lively and noisy. Next to Lieutenant General Crane, there stood a tall and slender woman, who was regarded by Lieutenant General Crane as his younger sister, Tautu. Peach Rabbit, it's been a long time, you're so beautiful. Sengoku looked at Tautu in front of him and smiled. Marshal of the Warring States. Tautu nodded, looking a little restrained, and smiled. She was wearing a skirt. The black skirt revealed her tall figure, with black high-heeled shoes under her feet. Her hair was curled up, and her delicate facial features were revealed. Such a peach rabbit has attracted the attention of everyone. But Tautu was also fearless, kept smiling and calmly. The other side. Together with Kizaru and Aokiji, they both arrived at the scene, wearing black suits, which made the two of them feel awkward, and they walked to the corner helplessly. I haven't participated in this kind of occasion for a long time. Kizaru twisted his arms and said helplessly. Me too. Aokiji nodded, looked at the Carnival Navy crowd in front, and said with a smile, however, they are very happy. Yes. Kazuna also nodded with a smile. Numerous navies were clamoring with excitement, and all around, there were already prepared wine barrels and gourmet buffets, and they could stay drunk at any time. Some navies have joined the Navy headquarters for more than 10 years, and they have never seen such a scene. This is the first time. Tina and Eggers also appeared. Tina was wearing a white dress, as pure as an angel, with a delicate face, delicate skin, and pink hair tied up, which was beautiful and moving. Beside him, Eggers said with a complex face, Tina, I am so envious of your figure. Ha ha ha. Tina laughed loudly and said, goose, you should show the same thing. I thought you would hold back this sentence. Tina, you've learned badly. Eggers said with annoyance on his slightly baby-fat face. Tonight, it's your chance. Didn't you like a navy before? Now you can be dispatched, justifiably. Tina smiled and said slowly. Get Zhao, don't mention it. Eggers was full of lack of interest, shook his head and said, since I heard about your Liang, I have no interest in any man. In front of him, any good man has become mediocre. Who asked you to compare it with Liang? Tina showed a smile on her face, her delicate face raised, and she was very proud. This is his own Liang. In the Navy crowd ahead. The crowd shouted loudly, and the atmosphere became very lively. Marshal of the Warring States period and General Aokiji are also here. Today is the most exciting day since I joined the Navy. I didn't expect it would be time for us to enjoy a noble party. Quote. They were very excited, and seeing a lot of food and wine around them made them even more excited beyond words. As naval soldiers, it's really simple to make them happy, and that's enough. Chapter 473 Women Meet. The red carpet covers an area for several kilometers. Within this area, groups of navies fell into a carnival and their blood boiled. The entire Marin Vando, who was originally silent at night, completely ushered in a terrifying momentum tonight. Even in the sea area that is several kilometers away, you can hear the uproarious voices that came from Marin Vando. Tonight, no one in Marin Vando could sleep. Unless, it is directly drunk to unconsciousness. Seeing the liveliness of the navy ahead, Warring States felt a bit of emotion in his heart, and said, such a party can come once a year. At least, let them have hope. Yes. Lieutenant General Crane nodded and said solemnly. The effect of such a party is great. On weekdays, if it is only training or training, naval soldiers will be boring. Certain entertainment items must be added to allow them to vent the irritable feeling in their hearts. A party like this one tonight is the most appropriate. Seeing the liveliness and noise of the Navy crowd, General Crane had this feeling in his heart. The combination of work and rest is the most important. One-sided training, people will always be numb, and there is no mood for war. If you add some entertainment items, it can also better attract Navy recruits to join. Otherwise, 453, the only thing that spreads out is how strict the training of the Navy headquarters is, which will scare away countless people. Necessary entertainment is a necessity. Ghost Spiders, Huo Shaoshan and the others also came. Seeing them wearing formal clothes really makes me want to laugh. It's so awkward, and it's quite uncomfortable to see what they wear themselves. Warring States laughed loudly, looked at the Ghost Spider and others in front, and said, "Aren't you the same?" Lieutenant General Crane glanced at the Warring States and said lightly. Immediately, Warring States' smile became a little stiff, and he smirked. "Don't say it." The audience was extremely lively and the atmosphere was boiling. The noise resounded through the sky. At the same time, a woman who originally belonged to the office also appeared at the party in formal clothes. Their appearance made a group of Navy's blood rush to their foreheads, and their voices became louder. On weekdays, a naval soldier who only cares about training, how can it be possible to see a woman at any time? They will be able to see you tonight. Moreover, they were all beautiful women in formal clothes and makeup, which really made their young people who had been single for many years, the blood tumbling in their bodies. "Hello, beauty, I see you are wearing a white dress. This dress really suits you." A young man from the Navy looked at the beautiful girl and approached with a smile. All the rest of the Navy were dispatched to make the party look like a blind date party. Of course. Among the Navy's group, it is not common for married people to gather into a group, drinking wine, their faces flushed, and they can't help themselves with excitement. Such a carnival party, they have joined the Navy for so many years, this is the first time they have met. Of course, tonight, or you will be drunk. Not far away. Liang and Hancock also gradually moved towards the party. Liang was wearing a black suit, and Hancock was wearing a purple slit-style robe. At first glance, the two looked like golden boys and girls, perfect and impeccable. Hancock's devilish slender figure seemed to break through his clothes, wearing red high-heeled shoes under his long straight and slender legs, and a delicate face that was flawless. "It's very lively." Liang took Hancock's little hand and smiled. "Yeah." Hancock nodded with a sweet smile and said. Both of them were startled by the sound of the party, so they came to take a look. Unexpectedly, the picture I saw was so shocking. You know, this is Marin Fando. It is unbelievable that such a lively and noisy scene would appear here. Chapter 473-3 Girls Meet. It is unbelievable that such a lively and noisy scene would appear here. At the party ahead, Peach Rabbit's beautiful eyes flashed beside Admiral Crane, and she whispered, "I'll go out first." Good. Lieutenant General Crane nodded and talked with Sengoku again. And Taotu took a pair of long straight legs and walked towards Liang. Meanwhile, on the other side, Tina also said to Eggers who was beside her, "You can slowly find your partner. My partner is here. I have to go AIAC to accompany him." You lose your conscience, you just lose your conscience. If you have a partner, you don't want your best friend. Tina, you damn fellow, wait for me. Eggers said with grief and indignation. However, she looked at the group of noisy Navy in front of her, and suddenly became dull. After seeing Liang's excellence, how could she still like these navies? It's just that Tina has made her eyes tricky. ... There are two beautiful girls coming our way. Hancock's beautiful eyes flashed, looking at Liang beside him, and said fiercely, "Could it be, you are going to attract bees and butterflies again?" My Lady Empress is right. However, it's not me who attracts bees and butterflies. Li Ang held Hancock's slender hand and smiled. I knew you were not in a good mood. Hancock rolled his eyes, his long eyelashes fluttering, extremely beautiful. She looked at Tautu and Tina in front of her, and said with admiration, these two sisters are also very beautiful. You bad guy, you are quite discerning. That is, especially the empress of my family, I have to say that my vision is accurate. Li Ang looked at Hancock beside him and said with a smile. Hem. Hancock blushed, snorted, turned his head calmly, and his beautiful eyes flowed a little with joy, but she didn't show it. Frontal position. Li Ang watched Tautu and Tina coming. Tina and Tautu also looked at each other with an unexpected look in their beautiful eyes. You. Tina's pink lips parted slightly, looking at Tautu, said. I didn't expect it. Tautu's pretty face turned a little rosy, and smiled, so, sister, you are just like me. This bad guy, Yan Fu is not shallow, he can get our hearts. Tina's pretty face blushed, as if someone saw through her heart, she looked very shy. No, when did you come, sister? I don't know. Tautu asked with a smile on her delicate face. It was decided yesterday. Tina's beautiful eyes flickered, she lowered her head and looked at her toes, shy. Especially when she recalled the scene at that time, her mood was indescribable. This guy is really... Tautu smiled slightly and couldn't help saying. It didn't take long before she hooked up with another beautiful woman. However, this also happens to show that Li Ang's personal charm is still quite high. She knows very well that Tina has been in the Navy headquarters for so many years, but she has never had contact with any boys, and has always kept herself clean. According to Tina's beautiful face, there are many goddesses of the Navy. It's just because of Tina's attitude of being completely uninterested in men, and I don't know how many Navy soldiers are secretly hurt. It is such a conservative girl, but she is still captured by Li Ang. It can be seen that even a girl like Tina can't resist Li Ang's personal charm. Chapter 474 Enter the party. It's hard to believe, Sister Tautu, you actually... Tina looked at Tautu in front of her with a blushing face and said slowly. In her mind, Tautu is a fairly mature and stable leader. However, she did not expect that she would be able to become Li Ang's woman together with the other party. This is really... so unexpected. Cough cough. Tautu coughed dryly, blushed slightly, and said bluntly, like you, I was captured by his sweet words. However, it was earlier than you. That's it. Tina's beautiful eyes flickered, standing side by side with Tautu and gradually moving towards the position of strength ahead. At the same time, the two girls saw the beautiful mature woman who thought she was wearing a purple slit cheongsam. The devil's high-jumping figure made them both envy for a while. Looking at the position of the front face again, the delicate and flawless white face, and the smooth black hair exudes a noble atmosphere. Even as women, they were almost fascinated. The Empress, Hancock. Tautu's beautiful eyes flashed and said slowly. This bad guy is very capable. Even the rumored Empress has been captured by him. Tina's pretty face blushed slightly and said softly. The two quickly arrived in front of Li Ang. Hi, my name is Hancock. Hancock looked at the two beautiful beauties in front of him. Although he was not on the same level as her, he was only slightly inferior. Looking at the whole world, it is basically impossible to find a beautiful woman with this kind of beauty. She knew in her heart that she was afraid that these two beauties of the Navy were also captured by Li Ang. Thinking of this, her beautiful eyes glanced at Li Ang. Hello, my name is Tautu. Hello, my name is Tina. Tautu and Tina both smiled, looked at Hancock, and introduced themselves. Li Ang, the bad guy, he was talking about the two of you all the time just now. Looking at it now, sure enough, as a woman, I am a little envious of your looks. No wonder, Li Ang, this bad guy, is thinking about you. Hancock said with a sweet smile. This gentle appearance made Li Ang a little unbelievable. Is this really Hancock? So sensible. Immediately, Li Ang looked at Hancock's beautiful profile, his eyes softened, a warmth flowed in his heart, and the corners of his mouth raised an arc. Hancock, this is helping him. Li Ang could see this at once. As expected. As soon as Hancock's words fell, Tautu and Tina's pretty faces turned crimson, and they looked at Li Ang a little bit, their beautiful eyes full of attachment. The two of them shook their heads in unison and whispered, "Why, you are more beautiful, Hancock. You can't believe what this bad guy says. The sisters are right." Hancock smiled sweetly, glanced at Li Ang, and said arrogantly, "Of course, you can't easily believe what this bad guy says. If you believe his nonsense easily, you will fall into his bad trap." Hey, the three of you. Li Ang looked at three women in a show, and he was so familiar with him that he was the middleman by the way. Immediately, he felt helpless and said, "I'm by my side, can't I give some face?" "Can't." The three women gave Li Ang a blank look and said bluntly. "Cough cough." Li Ang coughed dryly, but looking at the three girls so harmoniously, he was still in a very happy mood. He glanced at the three of them strangely, and said, "So unified. Did you rehearse in advance?" Chapter 474 Enter the Party. Li Ang coughed dryly, but looking at the three girls so harmoniously, he was still in a very happy mood. He glanced at the three of them strangely, and said, "So unified. Did you rehearse in advance?" Humph. Hancock snorted coldly, walked to the middle of the two women in front, and said with a smile, "Let's ignore this bad guy. Tell me, how did you guys get deceived by this bad guy?" Aside. Li Ang looked at the scene where the three girls were chatting and laughing, and waved his hand helplessly. "It's good now, the three women form that picture, and even he has no way to intervene." However, it was a great enjoyment to see the three beautiful beauties standing in front of them, chatting and laughing. The three beauties were dressed in different colors, tall, with long legs and slender waists, fair skin and delicate faces. When three people stand alone, Hancock's height is reflected. He is taller than the two women, and his figure is also fuller. A pair of straight and slender long legs is simply against the sky. In terms of figure, appearance and other aspects, Hancock's is slightly better. Okay 3, I have to remind you guys that now, you've got everyone's attention, you know what? Li Ang clapped his hands, looked at the three girls, pointed to the party ahead, and said, 0 katakana middle dot 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 katakana middle dot. At this time, many navies at the party looked over, and there was nothing they could do. The faces and figures of the three women, Hancock, Tautu, and Tina, were almost comparable to all the women present. Everyone's attention will definitely be attracted unconsciously. Three such beautiful women are rare here in the Navy. Far away, Li Ang could see the dull eyes and gazes of the Navy. After hearing Li Ang's words, the three girls also came back to their senses and looked around. Sure enough, they saw a group of navies watching. It's just that they don't care very much. Anyway, what do other people think about them? Since we have found out, let's also enter the party. Li Ang walked forward, stood beside the three women, and smiled. Yeah. Hancock nodded lightly and said. She looked at Tautu and Tina beside her and smiled. Two lovely little sisters, let's go. Although her age is not comparable to Tautu and Tina, in terms of identity, she is still a well-deserved eldest sister. Good. Tautu and Tina smiled. Immediately, the three women followed behind Li Ang and walked towards the party step by step. Because of Li Ang's appearance, the party suddenly became very quiet. Whether it was the Warring States period or Lieutenant General Crane, all the Navy were shocked and did not dare to say a word. The originally noisy scene suddenly became silent. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, they stared at Liang and the three women behind him. All kinds of envious, jealous and hateful eyes were cast on Liang's back. Tina and Tautu are well-deserved goddess-level characters in the Navy. And Hancock is one of the empresses of Chihuahua, and she is also recognized as the most beautiful woman in the world. These three women followed behind Liang, which could show that the three women were already Liang's women. I don't know how many navies there are, so I hurt myself and sighed silently. With Liang ratio. What did they compare to? Only Liang is worthy of such a perfect woman. They didn't feel that Liang was unworthy of them. After all, Liang's influence was quite high. Especially here in the naval headquarters, not to mention more. Chapter 475-T Dolphin. This monster is here too. The corners of the Warring States' mouth moved slightly, and he said with a slightly wry smile. The arrival of Liang undoubtedly added a bit of excitement to the scene. The originally noisy atmosphere was immediately deserted. It is rare to see such a scene where the crowd of black people dare not say a word. Liang. Zongjin's eyes were solemn, and after seeing the peach rabbit behind Liang, he raised his brows and opened his mouth, but he still didn't say anything. What kind of person to choose? Everyone has their own opinion. Warring States looked at Lieutenant General Crane beside him and said slowly, also, she is no longer a child. What's more, Liang is no worse than anyone else. If we say that the best person in the world, this man, it is undoubtedly Liang. I'm not saying he's not good enough, it's just that I always feel uneasy. It's because he's too good that I'm not at ease. Lieutenant General Crane sighed and said directly, however, Tautu has grown up, she knows what choices she should make, and I have no right to interfere. Yes. Warring States raised his head and said with a little emotion, just like me back then. When you are old in the Warring States period, you always like to miss the past. Lieutenant General Crane said with a smile. During this time, she also misses the various days in the past. It was their 463 era, and now, the old era, has passed. Everyone, don't be nervous, I've only been here for a while. Liang looked at the nervous Navy, waved his hand, and said bluntly. As soon as his words fell, there were whispers of chatter from many navies. And Liang didn't care, and took Tautu and Tina to the front of the Warring States period and Lieutenant General Crane. Facing Liang head-on, Warring States and Lieutenant General Crane naturally felt a lot of pressure in their hearts. Marshal of the Warring States, come uninvited, you won't disapprove me, right? Liang narrowed his eyes slightly and said with a smile. Of course not. Warring States shook his head, and said with a wry smile in his heart. Also, this one, Lieutenant General Crane. Liang looked at Lieutenant General He in front of him and smiled lightly. They admired Mr. Liang's name for a long time, and now I see it face to face, and it really lives up to its reputation. He is a talented person with a hearty appearance, no wonder he can fascinate Tautu's heart. Lieutenant General Crane glanced at Tautu and said. Smiled. Liang smiled and said. After chatting a few words, he took the three daughters to a place not far away to sit down and talk. And the scene gradually recovered the atmosphere. The arrival of Liang made them nervous at first. But such a party can easily dilute these tensions directly. Suddenly, there was a burst of noise and excitement at the scene again, and there was no peaceful scene at all. The lively atmosphere made the party at the scene even more fiery. Not only soldiers at the soldier level were carnival, but some lieutenant generals also joined it. At this time, Liang sat on a bench with Hancock, Tautu, and Tina, and said with a smile, this is Marin Fando's party. It's really rare. This is the first time. Tautu thought for a while, then nodded. She also deeply agreed with this. Seeing such a lively scene, it really made people's blood boil. Especially for the Navy at the grassroots level, such a party is basically never seen before. Since the establishment of Marin Vatican, this party is also the first time to be held at Marin Vatican. For the rest, there were at most some celebration feasts. But there has never been such a large celebration feast. Chapter 475-T Dolphin. But there has never been such a large celebration feast. At this time, a man wearing clogs, hanging a pipe, wearing a hat, dressed very casually, and a man who was out of tune with the scene came. There was a smile on his face, looking a bit wretched. Peach Rabbit. He walked in the direction of Tautu, and he started shouting from a distance. Well. Tautu raised her brows, her face became cold, and she didn't show any expression. He is, T. Dolphin. One of the admirals of the Navy headquarters. Tina explained in a low voice in Liang's ear, Afa pretty blushing, being so close to Liang still made her feel a little shy and excited. I know. Liang nodded and said with a smile. The candidate for Lieutenant General Chado, pursued Tautu no less than 100 times, but was rejected. Liang was naturally impressed by this kind of thing. However, he is still very confident in Tautu. But since the T-Dolphins have come to him face to face, how can Liang not stand by and watch? Tautu, but a woman who belongs to him, how can he allow others to shout? Liang has always been domineering when it comes to his women. Immediately, Liang stood up, faced the position of the T-Dolphin, and said with a smile, presumably, this is the T-Dolphin, right? You are, Liang. T-Dolphin frowned and stopped abruptly, saying, Liang's name, he has naturally heard of it, and the opponent's strength is quite tyrannical, which is also very clear to him. In the face of Liang, the pressure in his heart arises spontaneously. In the future, don't harass Tautu again. I officially announce that she is my Liang's woman. Liang looked at the T-Dolphin in front of him and smiled lightly. Tone, with no doubt. He has the ability to say this to the T-Dolphin. In the naval headquarters, the strength of the T-Dolphin is quite tyrannical, there is no doubt about this. Otherwise, it is impossible for him to become an alternate admiral of the Navy headquarters. However, in front of Liang, the strength of the T-Dolphin could not be on the stage. T-Pig, as I said, I have never liked you, don't pester me anymore. I already have someone I like, and this person is Liang. Tautu stood up, expressionless, and said bluntly. Hearing this, the T-Pig was speechless, and his eyes were a bit unwilling and lonely. In the end, his eyes were fixed on Liang, and he wanted to open his mouth and threaten to fight the opponent. Duel for the Peach Rabbit. However, when the words came to his mouth, he did not dare to say it. There is no reason for him, Liang's influence is too strong, so that he does not dare to launch a duel easily. Duel? I'm afraid not. What's the difference in courting death? Liang's terrifying strength is basically visible to countless people in the entire Navy. Especially on the battlefield, with his own power, he can kill tens of thousands of people. Moreover, no one has noticed yet how he murdered. This kind of speed is not something he can match. Even a person of the level of the Marshal of the Warring States period would not dare to say the words of a duel with Liang. T-Dolphin looked at Liang in front of him, gritted his teeth, and didn't know what to say for a while. In the end, he could only sigh and leave gradually. Competing with Liang. He is not enough for this qualification. Chapter 476-play. Seeing the T-Dolphin leave, Liang turned around, looked at Peach Rabbit behind him, and smiled gently. You drove away an annoying suitor, how are you going to repay me? Come on, close your eyes first. Tautu's pretty face was slightly red, and she said slowly. Good. Liang closed his eyes slightly. A long time. Of the three girls, Tautu, Tina, and Hancock, which were crisp and sweet. This bad guy, I thought people would kiss him, but now I've been fooled. Tautu Xiao's gorgeous branches are very beautiful, and she shows her choppy body, which makes people intoxicated. Okay, you all come to lie to me, right? Li Ang looked at the three girls in front of him, rubbed his ears again, and pretended to be angry. So what, we are just a partnership to deceive you. Hancock raised his arrogant and delicate face and said confidently. It seems that you have hardened wings. Li Ang walked in the direction of the three girls and said with a smile, his tone was meaningful and intriguing. Immediately, the three girls' pretty faces changed slightly and said loudly, Run, the bad guys are coming. You guys, can you run away? Li Ang's smile did not diminish, and his speed was faster than the movements of the three girls. In a blink of an eye, the three girls couldn't move in his arms. He spread out his hands, and even hugged the three girls' slender waists, and there was no sign of letting go. Let go, there are so many people here. Hancock, who was closest to Li Ang, blushed slightly and said. Don't let it go. Unless you do what you just did, everyone can't be less. Li Ang said with a swirl at the corner of his mouth. All right then. Hancock blushed, lowered his head, took a bite, and left quickly. Immediately after, Tautu and Tina blushed. Under the influence of Li Ang, they had to follow Hancock's actions and do the same thing. Afterwards, Li Ang smelled three distinct scents, pursed the corners of his mouth, and laughed loudly. The bad guy. Tautu stomped his feet, rolled his eyes in a charming way, and said. The party is about to start. Tina pointed not far away and smiled. Okay, let's watch the party quietly. With a smile on his face, Li Ang sat on the chair with the three girls at the same time, looking at the scene ahead. Between the four of them fighting each other, they can attract countless eyes. Not only because of Li Ang's terrifying strength and identity. Moreover, there are more reasons, because the three women Hancock, Tautu, and Tina are simply too beautiful. Three women like fairies, standing together. This is a living picture scroll, a moving picture scroll. Unfortunately, they can only look at it, and express all kinds of feelings of envy, jealousy and hatred towards Li Ang. Look, a lot of people are blessing us. Li Ang pointed to a group of navvies who were watching and smiled. Really? The three women rolled their eyes in unison. No matter how stupid they are, it is impossible to see the slightest blessing in the eyes of these people. On the contrary, the eyes of those people are full of envy, jealousy and hatred. The party is about to start, and the performance should be piano playing. This is an unusual piano performance performed by a group of female clerks led by Colonel Niece. Tina thought for a while and said slowly. Playing the piano. Li Ang was stunned. Chapter 476-play. Li Ang was stunned. Piano. Is there a piano in this world? Forgive him for never really thinking about this. However, listening to Tina's words, there really is a piano in this world, and it has been developed for a long time, and the playing skills are quite proficient. What's wrong? Hancock was keenly aware of Li Ang's mood swings, and had a little doubt, grabbed Li Ang's arm with both hands, and asked in a low voice. Nothing. Li Ang shook his head, looked at the stage vacated by everyone in front, and said with a smile, let's take a good look. Yeah. Hancock had a trace of doubt in his heart and did not continue to ask. Since Li Ang doesn't want to say anything, she won't get to the bottom of it. It's started. Tina said with a bit of excitement on her pretty face. Why, do you like the piano very much? Li Ang looked at Tina beside him with a smile and asked. Well, I wanted to study before, but my level was not very good. So, I always have a feeling of envy for those who can play the piano. If I can, I also want to give it a try. Tina nodded, blushing, and said. It's just playing the piano, it's not too difficult, right? Li Ang smiled and said directly. 0. Not difficult. The three girls looked at Li Ang and said suspiciously, it's really not difficult at the beginning, but if you want to advance, it's too difficult. Tautu said, I also studied for a period of time, and then gave up. In addition to lack of time, there is another reason, because it is too difficult. It is better to spend time learning swordsmanship. It's too hard. Tina also had a hint of frustration, said. Obviously, she was also defeated by the difficulty of the piano, and she did not go up to it at all to reach a higher level of piano. Really? Li Ang smiled and did not continue to talk about this topic. For others, it might be really hard. But for him, in the world, there has never been any problem that can beat him. The existence of the system will always help him acquire extraordinary abilities at critical moments. 0. Whether it is the piano or the strength, in a word, nothing can stump him. The other side. T-Dolphin was leaving with a face full of despair, and beside him, Huang Yuan smiled and said, T-Dolphin, have you been rejected? Don't bother me. T-Dolphin was depressed, waved his hand and said. Let me give you an idea. Although the person you have to face is Li Ang, you are not unsure of winning from him. Kizaru thought for a moment, his eyes twinkled, and said. Impossible. T-Dolphin immediately shook his head and denied it. Li Ang's strength is too strong, and he has no chance of winning at all. Moreover, he didn't even have the courage to fight against Li Ang. Not to mention other things. I'm not talking about a duel of power. Huang Yuan shook his head and explained, could it be that you will lose to Li Ang in all aspects? I don't think it is possible. No matter how talented Li Ang is, he cannot be proficient in everything. What do you mean? Let me use my strengths to challenge his weaknesses. But what weaknesses does he have? And what strengths do I have that he doesn't have? T-Dolphin's eyes lit up, but there was still a sigh, and said. You forgot. The corner of Huang Yuan's mouth was slightly raised, looking at the scene of the piano playing in front of him. He said bluntly, isn't playing the piano always your forte? Huh. T-Dolphin had a deep smile on his face, clapped his palms, and said with great joy, you were right. Chapter 477 T-Dolphin's Challenge. So, use your strongest item to challenge his weakest item. If you can't win at all, then you can only admit it. Kazuna said with a smile. That's right. Chado was so excited that he couldn't hide it, and said, my best part, in addition to my strength, is my first-class piano level. Even in Nice, it was only through my guidance that I could have the piano it is today. Level. You finally understand. Kizaru's smile became brighter, and his expression became more interesting. Beside. Aokiji glanced at the wretched guy Kizaru. These two are really a wretched duo. Still can think of such a way. Although, I can ensure that I will win, but it is also a shameful victory. Who will take their strongest skills to challenge others' weakest skills? Isn't 803 inches making others laugh? But now it seems that the T-Dolphin can't listen to these words. He has gone completely mad. This makes Aokiji a little helpless, and also has some expectations. Can the T-Dolphin win? In the Navy headquarters, T-Dolphins are among the best pianists. Although this guy is a bit wretched and has nothing to do with something as elegant as a piano, his piano level is still quite high. And Li Ang, a terrifying strength is naturally understandable. But the duel is the piano, that is unknown. In Qingzi's view, the possibility of Li Ang's defeat is close to zero. Why do you say that? Because, he would never think that Li Ang would agree to the almost mentally retarded duel of the T-Dolphin. Therefore, there will be no duel scenes, and there will certainly not be failures. However, if Li Ang agreed to a duel with the T-Dolphin, Qingzi believes that the possibility of the T-Dolphin failing is close to zero. That's it. The T-Dolphin looked excited, looked at Huang Yuan, and said with admiration, General Huang Yuan, the idea you gave is really perfect. If he refuses, it will be quite humiliating. So, come on. Huang Yuan nodded, already thinking of the scene of Li Ang making a fool of himself. Thinking of this, he rubbed the scar on his waist, a wicked look on his face. Although he can't beat Li Ang, he can still discuss the opponent. In this way, it can be regarded as a bad breath for his injury. Well, I will definitely beat him. T-Dolphin's eyes twinkled brightly. Don't look at his usual wretched and small appearance. However, his piano level is really not very high. In the headquarters of the Navy, he is the absolute #1 in piano attainments. Not even Lieutenant General Crane can match him, let alone anyone else. Lieutenant General Crane used to be a tyrannical pianist, and he was quite old. Don't look at the fact that he didn't touch the piano on weekdays, but that's because he didn't have the original feeling for the piano, so he didn't touch the piano again. I definitely can't beat Li Yang's strength. However, if I compare it with other projects, I won't necessarily lose. Besides, it's a learned thing like piano. I was by accident when I was a child. I studied for 5 years and laid a perfect foundation. Only later can I improve the level of the piano to this level. Li Yang has never learned, so naturally he can't win from my hands. The more the T-Dolphin thought about it, the more excited he became. He could see the picture of Li Yang losing to him. At that time, Tautu will definitely change his mind. At least, that's what he thought in his heart. He didn't know that Tautu didn't care about his piano skills at all. If Tautu had a feeling for the piano, he wouldn't have rejected him so many times over the years. Chapter 477 _ The Challenge of T-Dolphin. If Tautu had a feeling for the piano, he wouldn't have rejected him so many times over the years. But now the T-Dolphin, the head has been flooded with blood, unable to calmly think about the problem. In his opinion, being able to defeat Li Yang is his great honor. Go ahead, don't waste time. At that time, you can let all the navies in the audience be witnesses. Prove that you are the man who beat Li Yang. The smile on Kizaru's face was even brighter, said. Yes, very right, I want everyone to see how I defeated Li Yang. Even if I can't beat Li Yang, I will definitely not lose in other aspects. The T-Dolphin took a deep breath and had a plan in his heart. Under the eyes of Kizaru and Aokiji. I see. The T-Dolphin walked to Li Yang's position step by step without turning back. The corner of Qingzi's mouth moved slightly, and said, Huang Yuan, you are not kind, is it really good to do this? Take your own strengths to challenge others' weaknesses, this is not a normal test. I'll take care of him. Huang Yuan pouted his lips and said lightly, anyway, I have to get rid of the bad anger of the wound on my waist. I'm already satisfied to see Li Yang lose. There is no need to be defeated in terms of strength, because no one in the world can do that. As long as I see him lose, no matter what he loses, my mood will become more comfortable. After Huang Yuan finished speaking, he did not speak again. His eyes were focused on the T-Dolphin, and he kept looking at Li Yang's position. There's a good chance you'll fail. Qingzi waved his hand helplessly and thought, if it were me, if I was so strong, what piano would I compare to you? Could it be that my head was hit? If he refuses, it's not like Li Yang's style either. Kizaru's smile was somewhat meaningful, said. He seemed to believe that Li Yang would not refuse. Really? Qingzi supported his forehead, feeling even more helpless in his heart. He really didn't know what to say when he saw the two wretched duo of Huang Yuan and Cha-Dolphin. Position in front. A group of women played the piano, and a beautiful and pleasant sound gradually came out. One by one, the notes lingered in the crowd, making the noisy crowd quiet. A large navy was infected by these notes, silent, listening carefully to the beautiful music of the piano. It's so beautiful. A navy's throat was dry and he said in a low voice. Most people's heads have been brainwashed by the sound of these pianos, completely unforgettable, silent in the atmosphere brought by the notes, unable to extricate themselves. At the same time, in the direction of Li 4.8 Ang. Li Yang looked at the T-Dolphin who was approaching in front of him, and had a little doubt, why is this guy here? The three women shook their heads in confusion. It stands to reason that under the shock of Li Yang's terrifying strength, he should not dare to appear again. But what's the situation with the T-Dolphin now? It always feels like he's here for some purpose. Hancock's beautiful eyes were bright, as if he could see through the purpose of the T-dolphin, and whispered in Li Ang's ear. "Don't worry too much." Li Ang waved his hand and smiled. The mere T-dolphin still can't make him look right. Soon, the T-dolphin arrived in front of Li Ang smoothly. He took a deep breath and looked at Li Ang in front of him, feeling a lot of pressure. But he still gritted his teeth, endured the pressure in his heart, slowly opened his mouth, and said in a solemn tone, "Li Ang, I want to challenge you." Chapter 478_bet. As soon as the words came out, Li Ang was a little surprised, and the three women also showed a very surprised look, looking at the T-dolphin in front of him, very puzzled. "Is this a burnt brain? How dare you challenge Li Ang? Did you take the wrong medicine?" At this time, in addition to being excited, the T-dolphin was still a little nervous. What if Li Ang did something to him directly? This was what he was most worried about. If Li Ang agreed to accept his challenge, then he would naturally not have to worry about it. The fear is that Li Ang would not agree, and directly used force to suppress him. "Don't you dare." T-dolphin looked at Li Ang, who did not reply, gritted his teeth, and continued. His expression was full of confidence, completely fearless. Immediately, the three women were suspicious. What was the situation? "Are you going to challenge me? Are you sure?" Li Ang came back to his senses, his eyes narrowed slightly, and he asked with a smile. "Of course." Cha-dolphin nodded solemnly, with a firm tone, and said bluntly, "After my various thoughts, I am not going to challenge you temporarily. Since you have so much courage, if I don't fulfill you, it seems that I can't justify it. Well, I agree to your challenge." Li Ang laughed and said slowly. The three girls, Hancock, Tautu, and Tina, stood beside Li Ang, and their beautiful eyes were puzzled. "This challenge seems a little weird. T-dolphin, this guy is dying. How dare you challenge Li Ang?" "Wait a minute." The T-dolphin took a deep breath and said, "What's the matter? Do you regret it?" Li Ang smiled and asked again. "No." T-dolphin shook his head with a firm expression and said bluntly, "The challenge I'm talking about is not a duel with you. Rather, I want to compete with you on other projects." "Oh, what project?" Li Ang became interested, and the first thing that came to his mind was not retreat, but what exactly this project was. In his eyes, he never thought he would lose. "Just now, play the piano." T-dolphin pointed to the open space stage not far away and said. "Playing the piano." Li Ang said something, and a smile appeared on his face. And the T-dolphin's smile became brighter and brighter. Seeing Li Ang, who was not rioting in front of him, he was also quite excited. Looking at it this way, the other party does not seem to intend to reject him. Wouldn't he be victorious then? At this moment, there was a subtle change in Tautu's pretty face, leaning against Li Ang's ear and whispering, "Don't promise him, his piano level is recognized as #1 in the Navy headquarters." "You are so mean." Tina pointed at the T-dolphin with an angry look on her pretty face, and said, "To actually use your own strengths to challenge others' weaknesses, your character is simply too bad. I just wanted to ask, Li Ang, will you agree?" T-dolphin ignored Tina's words, looked at Li Ang, and asked. "Don't promise him." Tautu grabbed Li Ang's arm, and said with a nervous look on her pretty face. "It's all right." Li Ang's eyes were a little soft, he patted Tautu's shoulder, and smiled. In his eyes, Tautu saw a strong confidence. For some reason, she let go of her hands subconsciously, opened her mouth, and said nothing. In her eyes, Li Ang's figure seemed to be more attractive. "I can't promise him." Chapter 478_bet. "I can't promise him." Tina blushed with anxiety and said quickly. "Tina, come back." Hancock showed a smile and said slowly. Looking at Li Ang's figure with her beautiful eyes, she chose to trust directly. Li Ang had a strong confidence in her body, which she could clearly feel. In general, Li Ang, who is in this state, is absolutely sure of himself. She had never seen Liang do something she wasn't sure about. This man deserves her trust. But Tina's blushing pretty face still couldn't hide her anxiety. But soon, after seeing Hancock's firm eyes, her pink lips parted slightly, and she couldn't speak anymore. A confidence surged from the bottom of her heart. Okay. Tina took a half step back and stood behind Liang, but Mei Mei still had an angry look, staring at the tea dolphin in front of her, without concealing her anger at all. Liang, do you agree? Tea dolphin looked at Liang in front of him and continued to ask. Of course, why not agree? Liang laughed and said slowly. Is this true? Tea dolphin's pupils shrank, and a touch of ecstasy appeared on his face, said. Of course it's true, don't tell me, I rarely tell lies. Besides, I don't like to tell lies either. Liang nodded and continued, however, if it's just a pure challenge, it's also a bit less in nature. So, let's increase the stakes, what do you think? Bet. Tea dolphin's eyes flickered, exactly as he wanted, and he nodded immediately and said, okay, tell me, I accept all the bets. It seems that your confidence is not so great. Liang said with a smile. Tea dolphin's words can completely reveal his confidence in his own piano level. Therefore, no matter what kind of request Liang puts forward, in the view of the tea dolphin, there is no pressure. Of course, are you afraid? The tea dolphin raised his head and said very proudly. However, what was hard to hide was his wretched smile. Looking at his face, it's hard to think of something as elegant as playing the piano. Knew it. Art does not distinguish between ugly, good and evil, and no purpose. Afraid. You're really right 073. I'm really afraid, I'm afraid you won't be able to lose. Liang's eyes twinkled brightly and smiled faintly. In a moment, I'll let all the navies in the room serve as fair witnesses. Let them feel who is better at playing the piano. What do you think? Tea dolphin's face is serious, as if he is confident in winning, he smiles. Of course you can. Liang nodded and smiled, and with a flash of inspiration, he said, if it's a bet, then so be it. You tell me, I will accept any bet. Tea dolphin nodded, without any sense of tension, said. What surprised him most was that Liang agreed. This is really in the middle of the plan. Moreover, not only did he agree, but Liang even proposed to increase the stake, which really made him unexpected and completely unexpected. The moment to defeat Liang is now. Wait, Liang, although your strength is tyrannical, in other projects, you are just a rookie. Compared to the piano, I have never been afraid of anyone. Tea dolphin thought so in his heart, and his heart was full of self-confidence. His piano level is recognized by everyone in the Navy headquarters. Therefore, it is understandable that he has this confident capital. Especially in front of people like Liang, who he thinks are half-baked, he won't even think that he will lose. Chapter 479 piano value plus 999999. Well, if I lose, I'll be a bull and a horse for 3 years. If you lose, you'll be a bull and a horse for 3 years. What do you think? Liang's eyes flashed and he said with a smile. Well. Tea dolphin's pupils shrank, feeling very shocked. 3 years as a cow and a horse. What shocked him was not that he would lose, but that if he won, wouldn't he have a god-level thug like Liang? Can't you run the world by yourself? In this world, there is still no existence capable of Liang's power. That is to say, if he wins, within 3 years, he will be invincible. How much can you do in 3 years? I am afraid that the governments of the world will respect him. Thinking of this, his heart couldn't contain his excitement, his face flushed, looking at Liang in front of him, and said, Are you serious? Sure, what do you think of this bet? Liang nodded with a smile and said. Lose. This word has never appeared in his dictionary. I can't ask for it. Tea dolphin took a deep breath, nodded solemnly, and said with unconcealed excitement. At this time, standing behind Liang, Hancock, Taotu, and Tina all felt a little nervous in their hearts. Although they were very confident in Liang, the stakes seemed a little too big. Don't worry, I won't lose. Your husband, I, will never lose. Liang looked at the three women behind him and said with a smile, his face full of confidence. Hearing this, Hancock and the other three relieved their mood a little and laughed. Come on. With your support, I'm already halfway there. Liang laughed, smiling brightly, said. Damn it, later, I'll see how you lose. T-Dolphin looked at Liang, his fists clenched, thinking so. He couldn't wait to see Liang making a fool of himself. He is quite confident in the skill of the piano. Let's go. Liang looked at the T-Dolphin beside him and smiled. Good. After the T-Dolphin nodded, he took the initiative to walk in front. Behind him, Liang's face was calm, with a faint smile on his face, without the slightest sense of tension. Even without knowing the opponent's strength level, he has already shown a winning attitude. On the other hand, the same is true for the T-Dolphin. He does not think that Liang will be proficient enough to crush the piano. If this is the case, it can only show that Liang is really a genius. But that possibility is close to zero. Therefore, he already felt that he was in control of victory. Liang and T-Dolphin successfully entered people's sight. Everyone was stunned, looking at Chado and Liang for unknown reasons, silent. It's not that they are afraid of T-Dolphins, but they are afraid of Liang. Even Warring States and Lieutenant General He were stunned. Seeing Chado and Liang walking towards the center of the piano playing field, they were completely confused. What's the situation? Not only the two were confused, but everyone in the audience could not understand their actions. Not far away. After seeing the actions of Chado and Liang, Huang Yuan showed a wretched smile and said directly, it really succeeded. It's really. Qingzi was speechless, but Li Angjin agreed. This is really unexpected. Could it be that Liang thinks he can beat the T-Dolphin? If it is just a match of strength, there is no doubt that Liang will never be defeated. But if it is a piano, he believes that the situation is exactly the opposite, and it will never be defeated if it is transformed into a T-Dolphin. I don't know, after Liang loses, will he destroy Malinfando in anger? If this is the case, then this piano competition must be suspended. Aokiji thought to himself, with a worried look on his face. In any case, that can't provoke Liang, and now everyone in the entire naval headquarters is concentrated here. But if Liang goes mad, there will be corpses all over the place, and no one can stop Liang's footsteps. It's troublesome. Aokiji waved his hand, looking particularly helpless. Chapter 479 _ value plus 999999. Aokiji waved his hand, looking particularly helpless. He looked at the yellow ape beside him and said, next, if things develop to that point. Then you have to go to the end. I won't be involved in it and seek my own death. You bastard. Huang Yuan raised his brows, and felt a little bad in his heart. Position directly in front. Liang and Cha-Dolphin stood in the center of the field. And the original piano playing has also come to an end. A beautiful woman came over, looked at the T-Dolphin, and asked, Lieutenant General of the T-Dolphin, what's the matter? Nice, let the venue go. I want to have a piano competition with this Mr. Liang. Leave both pianos behind and let us have a competition. T-Dolphin looked at Nice in front of him and said slowly. You and this, Liang learn from each other. Nice took a deep breath and looked at Liang in front of him, with a hint of fear in her beautiful eyes that could not be concealed. This Liang is a terrifying monster who kills without blinking an eye. Play piano. Will this work? Not only was she shocked, even Sengoku, who had better ears, was so shocked that his jaw was about to fall to the ground. What did the T-Dolphin just say? Warring States, what did they say? Lieutenant General Crane raised his brows, looked at the Warring States beside him, and asked. They're going to try. Sengoku's lips trembled, and he said with a face full of horror, "It's not a battle, it's a piano sparring." My God, does this monster Liang know the piano? I really can't imagine such a thing in my dreams. Oh, did they really say that? Lieutenant General Crane's eyes flashed, and he said with a sense of interest. Yes, although I don't know the reason, but the two of them really want to learn the level of the piano. Nice has already left the piano for the two of them. This is really... Sengoku's throat was dry, unable to express his feelings at the moment. In addition to shock, go to the other. Fun, interesting. Lieutenant General Crane showed a rare smile and said. At the same time. In the venue ahead. Nice took a deep breath and asked solemnly, Lieutenant General T. Dolphin, are you serious? Of course. T. Dolphin nodded and said beyond doubt. All right then. Nice nodded, put down the piano in his hand, and instructed one of the team members to put down the same piano as well. Then, under her leadership, everyone quickly left the venue. Immediately, Liang and T. Dolphin appeared in the sight of all the naval soldiers. 10,000 people. Very good, I'm afraid, far more than that. This is where all the personnel of the entire Navy headquarters are concentrated, and there must be more than 10,000 people. Their eyes were fixed on Liang and Cha Do, and they couldn't move them away. What's the situation? The same question popped into everyone's mind. What are these two going to do? Do you want to admit defeat? The T. Dolphin smiled and looked at Liang next to him, saying. This sentence, you should ask yourself. Liang laughed and said calmly. Suddenly, in his head, there was a mechanized voice that was very familiar and hadn't appeared in a long time. In the blink of an eye, his expression became more exciting and his smile brighter. Congratulations to the host, open the modifier, the piano value is plus 999,999. Open black lens bracket comprehend the sound of nature close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket breakthrough novice close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket breakthrough entry close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket breakthrough proficiency close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket breakthrough master close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket breakthrough master close black lens bracket. Ellipsis dot. Chapter 480 _ confident T. Dolphin. The system really won't be late. Liang narrowed his eyes slightly and smiled. He looked at the piano in front of him, and an inexplicable sense of familiarity made him feel that as long as his hands touched the piano, he could only play the music he wanted. The system is a modifier in many ways. Whether it is his strength or other aspects, it can give him the ultimate level. At this time, the T. Dolphin was full of smiles, looking at the many navies who were looking at him. His voice was loud, and he shouted, everyone must be wondering why I would stand up with this Mr. Liang. Now, I can answer you. I, T. Dolphin, will officially challenge Liang today. Finished talking. Silence. Everyone stared blankly at the T. Dolphin, their throats were dry and they could not speak. Everyone didn't dare to say a word, and the eyes looking at the T. Dolphin were full of admiration and horror. Who is Liang? This is a terrifying figure like a devil. Lieutenant General T. Dolphin dares to challenge such a monster. How much courage it takes. But don't get me wrong. It was the piano that I challenged him. Looking at the sluggish expressions of everyone, the T. Dolphin coughed dryly and explained. In front of so many people, threatening to challenge the piano 633 is making him so cheeky that he can't stand it anymore. However, in order to be able to defeat Liang, what is this embarrassment? Thinking of this, he took a deep breath and his face gradually became calm. Piano. Will Cha Dujong compete with Liang in his piano playing level? My God, what's the situation? Although it's a party, it's unexpected for such a show to appear. But then again, in terms of piano skill, wouldn't Liang be completely suppressed by Lieutenant General T. Dolphin? I don't know, we'll just watch it quietly. Although it's a bit embarrassing, it seems that with only these abilities, Lieutenant General T. Dolphin can stably suppress Liang. In other words, like strength, Lieutenant General T. Dolphin would not dare to fight Liang head-on. Quote. There are many opinions, and they also understand the practice of T. Dolphins very well. If the strength is not good, then other aspects may not be bad. There will always be an ability that can be used to defeat Liang. They don't think that Liang is omnipotent, and that anything can be in the first place. This is basically impossible. Nor do they think that one person can have so much talent that he leaves everyone behind and can't catch up for a lifetime. They recognize Liang's strength, and they never need to doubt it. But apart from strength, what else is Liang worth affirming? It seems that, in addition to strength, there is no other ability worthy of their special attention. Lieutenant General T. Dolphin, that's too witty. A Navy soldier said with a smile on his face. It's good to be able to defeat Liang, no matter what project it is. As long as Liang can be defeated, it means bringing countless glory. Liang seems to have agreed. Could it be that he can still beat Lieutenant General T. Dolphin on the piano? You know, Lieutenant General T. Dolphin is a bit sleazy, but he has been practicing the piano for more than 10 years. Even though Liang is really strong, how old is he? Even if he comes out of his mother's womb and starts to practice, he can't surpass Lieutenant General T. Dolphin, right? Unless, Liang is really amazingly talented. Quote. The whole place became noisy. Everyone looked at Liang and the T. Dolphin in front of them, and their expressions were full of excitement. Chapter 480 Confident T. Dolphin. Everyone looked at Liang and the T. Dolphin in front of them, and their expressions were full of excitement. Lieutenant General T. Dolphin, come on. A Navy took a deep breath and shouted loudly, excited. Immediately, countless navies shouted and cheered for the T. Dolphin. On the contrary, Liang's side seemed to be somewhat unconcerned. However, he didn't care, and still looked at the group of Navy with a smile. I don't know, will these people be so excited when the results come out? Don't worry everyone, I never lose to anyone on the piano. The T. Dolphin laughed, Lang said, full of confidence. For the piano, he believes that he will never lose to others. This is a recognition of the achievements of his practice over the years, as well as self-confidence. Tonight, I will invite you as judges to ask for fairness and justice to judge the level between me and Liang. T. Dolphin continued. No problem. Lieutenant General T. Dolphin, you will definitely win. That's right, Lieutenant General T. Dolphin, I'm optimistic about you, you have to give our Navy headquarters a fight. Quote. Many navies were extremely excited, and were suppressed by Liang's terrifying strength, which naturally made them very depressed. If they can find a way to defeat Liang, they will definitely be happy to add to the fun. Not far away. The Warring States period and Lieutenant General he looked at the lively and noisy scene ahead, and looked at each other with anticipation. Will Liang lose? It's really exciting to see him fail. I can't wait to see the picture of Liang being defeated. Sengoku said in a low voice with an indescribable excitement on his face. It can be seen how much resentment he has towards Liang. However, because of Liang's terrifying strength, he didn't show it on weekdays, and he didn't dare to do anything to Liang. If you can see Liang being defeated, the picture will definitely be quite perfect. Could it be that he must lose? Lieutenant General Crane pondered for a while, and said with a smile, although, I have a lot of confidence in the T. Dolphin. However, Liang, the monster, actually agreed. Isn't there a variable in this? Impossible. Warring States shook his head and said, Liang will never win. If the T. Dolphin challenges swordsmanship or other aspects, he will undoubtedly lose. But what he challenges is the piano, who has absolute confidence in his own strength. Let's wait and see. I always feel that things are not so simple. Lieutenant General he looked forward and said bluntly. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Liang and Cha Do, waiting for the competition between the two to start. And the other side. Hancock, Tautu, and Tina also looked at Li Ang nervously. For some reason, when they saw Li Ang's calm figure, their nervousness suddenly eased. Won't lose. Hancock's beautiful eyes flickered and he whispered. Seeing that bad guy's smile, I knew he was absolutely sure. Tautu also looked at Li Ang in front of him with a smile and said. Tina's pink lips parted slightly, she nodded and said, I always feel that when I see his back, I feel very at ease. Yes. The two girls, Hancock and Tautu, agreed and sighed with emotion. Then, Hancock seemed to think of something, the corner of his mouth drew a curve, and his delicate face showed a strong charm, which was indescribably beautiful. She said slowly, that's what makes him so attractive.